flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the February 9th, 2016 meeting of the Village of Rhinebeck Board of Trustees. I want to put a special thank you out for our large crowd. It's the first opportunity I've had to use the gavel. Appreciate that.
You might have to use this later on too.
Yeah. So I think there's copies of the agenda up there. If you want to speak on any of the public hearings, please sign in, and then we will recognize you to speak. Before we get into the bulk of the meeting, I have an update on the tree situation. So how many people, raise their hands, are here to hear about the trees? All right, that's what we thought. So it would have been down under the tree commission, but since we have such an excited crowd, I thought we'd move it to the top. So in summary, I only got 3 pages here. We're going to make sure we got it all right and put all the details straight. So we received dozens, if not 100, emails related to this issue, in addition to many phone calls, in-person conversations that all of us have had with all of you. We'd like to thank everyone that has participated for doing so, and acknowledge that the strength of our community is rooted in individual participation. So thank you again for being here. Based on the feedback that we received, there seems to be some confusion related to the current situation and some inaccurate or conflicting information being circulated. So we have a summary here where we're at. As a reminder, the village does have a tree ordinance and a tree commission, which has been involved in this process since the start. We're very happy to see so many people passionate about trees in attendance tonight, and are hoping that some of that passion may produce a volunteer to serve on our tree commission. So we currently have an opening, and if you would consider volunteering for this commission, please send a letter of interest to the attention of the village clerk. The big question is, how do we end up here tonight with this room full of people talking about trees? It starts with the fact that all power companies, and in our case Central Hudson, have a responsibility to deliver power to their customers, including residents of the village, with as few interruptions as possible. To accomplish this, they routinely trim branches that have grown into the lines or too close to the lines. And this trimming, line clearance, has been happening in the village for decades on a 4-year cycle. So any of us who've been here for a while, you've seen this pass through the village before. And this line clearing is regulated by the Public Service Commission and is performed to industry accepted standards. Now I've asked Sean to do some research on this, and he's going to speak for a moment on what that means to our situation today.
Sure. Generally speaking, the PSC is charged with ensuring that the lines are clear and efficient delivery occurs. And they go about doing that by having the various utility companies throughout the state submitting their plans as to how they propose to do these line clearings. Many of the companies, if not all of them, that I was able to review have very similar plans that are regulated by industry standards that they refer to. And these are nationally recognized standards, and many of them are endorsed by various arborist associations and things like that. So what we're dealing with is certain confines that are outside of the realm of municipal legislation or legislating this by ordinance. We are somewhat confined to dealing with the industry standards that Central Hudson has proposed to the PSC and that have been accepted by the PSC. That being said, Central Hudson at our last meeting made it clear that they were willing to work with the village, and where they could make certain trimmings minimal, they would do so. But since this proposal has come to us, we're actually kind of scrutinizing each tree to ensure that the decisions that are made are best for our community.
Thanks, Sean. So today, to further that, I talked to Pete McFarland from Central Hudson, and I know Walter Cotter from the Tree Commission also talked to him again. And they will clear up to the industry defined standard that was accepted by the PSC. but they will do everything possible to preserve the appearance of the trees as they are. So you'll notice that trimming has begun in areas surrounding the village, and the trimming will be entering the village soon. The village, our highway department, and our tree commission have been working with Central Hudson for years to identify and address issues related to tree/wire conflicts. So this isn't a Central Hudson versus the residents or Central Hudson versus the village of Rhinebeck situation. They've been working together for a long time to do the best thing with our trees and meet their needs of providing power. Most recently, Central Hudson has been working with our tree commission to discuss this year's scheduled trimming and offered to remove some trees as an alternative to more trimming that over many years has left these trees in a condition that does not resemble the structure of similar trees of the same age and species that are growing in open spaces. Central Hudson offered to remove a number of trees at a favorable cost, and our tree commission recommended that these trees be removed. So the question is, why would people that love trees, that serve on our tree commission, why would they recommend that we remove the trees? So the problem exists because these trees, which will naturally grow to be very large, were planted directly under the power lines. When an arborist looks at these trees, they see trees that have been butchered by decades of pruning and poor examples of the species. When our highway department looks, they see the risks of branches from unbalanced trees falling on the street, sidewalks, or vehicles. They see the roots from trees planted in a very narrow strip, in most cases, heaving the sidewalks and invading our storm drainage system. Our tree commission sees the removal of these trees as an opportunity to plant appropriate and varied species of trees that will grow to be beautiful specimens and secure a beautiful streetscape for generations to come. Some residents and visitors see the same thing, but most look beyond the actual condition and appearance of individual trees and see the beautiful canopy that contributes to the unique character of our village. I would suggest that each perspective is correct and that no one is wrong in this case. So this is the point where the village board entered the discussion as your elected representatives. Deputy Mayor Trout is the liaison to the tree commission, and he and I attended a tree commission meeting last month where this situation was being discussed. Central Hudson representatives were also at this meeting, and we were discussing the numbers and specific locations of these trees, and we're beginning to assess the potential aesthetic impact of removing the identified trees. Trustee Cruikshank was attending a planning board meeting up here that night, and he stopped by the clerk's office and heard the conversation, and he was the first to voice his concern and general opposition to the number of trees being discussed. At that time, the number being considered was, as reported, 127 trees. Now, it was difficult to envision the potential impact as we were looking at a list compiled according to Central Hudson poll numbers located around the village on different streets. So in order to understand exactly what was being discussed, we asked that the trees be identified, and that's when the tree commission identified each tree on the list with a small white dot. So those are the white dots that everyone has seen around the village. We then scheduled a tree workshop to explain the situation to the entire village board, and members of the public attended. Central Hudson presented their position and their offer. Our tree commission presented their position and their reasons for recommending that these trees be removed, and initial comments were received by the board. It was determined that in order to eliminate confusion and allow for a focused conversation, each tree would need to be individually identified. I'd like to thank Nick Monaco. I don't know if he's out there tonight. He's watching his kids, so he's not here. But I'd like to thank him for actually going out and number the trees. So those are the silver discs with individual numbers on them. And the number at that time was reduced to 114. I know there's been some confusion with the 127 to 114, but some of those trees in the original list were identified to be outside of the village. Unfortunately, it appears that some of these numbers have been removed. And I'd just like to, that is funny, that is kind of funny, but I request that regardless of your wishes for the future of a particular tree, please leave the numbers in place until this project has been completed. Now, missing numbers increases the chance of an error, with whether it be the removal of a designated tree to be kept or vice versa. So if we move the numbers, we may be cutting down the beloved tree in your front yard that you intended to keep by removing the number. So a plan from that point was devised, which called for each member of the village board to personally examine each tree and submit a list of trees that they felt should be removed, which is effectively calling for a vote on the removal of each tree, and that's where we're sitting tonight. So the trees were individually assessed by your Board of Trustees based on the following criteria: overall health of the tree, general appearance of the tree's contribution to the village's character, in particular the canopy created over the street, the individual tree's relative importance, prominence when compared to those directly adjacent, and the tree's impact on the infrastructure such as sidewalks and storm drainage. So, to the summary of the trees, and I hope I didn't lose it. There we go. So I got one for each of you guys. A very small. Here's one more. So I was working this data up until the last minute, so it's hot off the presses. So to note, the number of trees, which to add to the confusion, was 114, but we had difficulty finding 4 of those trees, number 74, 75, and 98, 99. So I don't know if maybe those were just missed in the sequence, but none of us identified those trees. I know I personally, and at least Scott, I looked for a long time for those 4 and didn't find them. So in summary, out of the 110 now, that's the magic number, 110, we each looked at the list. And I came up with 19 trees. Howie came up with 24 trees. Scott with 18. Sean with 22. And Gary with 41. Now, of those trees, 21 of those trees received 3 or more votes.
Were these trees to be removed?
Those-
The number you're giving us?
Yes, the 21 are the trees that have received 3 or more votes from the 5 of us for removal. And I would say most of those are the absolute least healthy of the trees, some of them already dead, and those that do not contribute to the canopy. Just to give you a further breakdown of what we're talking about there were initially 25 trees identified on Route 9. I believe everybody knows we're there, but roughly between Terrapin and the corner of Montgomery Street as it breaks off by the hospital. So we identified 6 of those trees, of those 25, to be removed. 2 of the 6 trees on West Chestnut to be removed. 0 of the 1 tree on West Market. 6 of the 29 on East Market. 1 of the 14 on South Street. 1 of the 17 on Livingston Street. 0 of the 3 on Chestnut. 1 of the 7 on South Parsonage. 1 of the 2 on Beach. 1 of the 2 on Lorraine. 1 of the 2 on Mulberry, and 1 of the 2 on Center. So the plan from here would be to change on those 21 trees, change the white dot to a red dot, because it's very difficult for us or anybody to look at this list by poll number, and sometimes the address is penciled in, but we'll be able to identify them by tree number with a red dot. So that's our summary there. We're not done, but that's the summary of where we came with our study. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the 21 trees that have been designated per the survey for removal by Central Hudson at a cost of no more than $60 per tree.
Second.
Discussion.
Second.
Howie.
I think there were discussions. At this point, Heath, I think we probably should identify those 21 trees and then from that point receive public comment.
Okay. So we.
Unless, of course, there would be no sense in approving that unless we got feedback from those 21.
Well, we will approve the 21 to be marked. We will mark them in red. And then we will get to the public comment portion of it, where we're going to go with that in a minute.
So I agree with Scott, only because some of those trees that were marked because of the aggressive pruning that was going to be taking place. And I think the pruning, as Trustee Sean has mentioned, is an industry standard. And some of those trees would vary drastically if we changed how they were being pruned to working with Central Hudson.
Right. So some of the remaining issues are, that came up were tree replacement and our tree planting program. We'll let Howie talk about that as the liaison to the tree commission.
Okay, the tree commission, as he said, I'm the liaison to the tree commission. We can have 5 members. We have 4, so we need another member. Walter Carter is on the tree commission. I don't think anybody else is here from the tree commission. So what we do is we plant trees twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. So we kind of have our plan every year of trying to fill in the areas where we think the trees need to fill in the area where there's no trees. So we go around and we identify areas that need to be done. Since 2008, we've planted over 200 trees. We usually do 15 in the spring, 10 in the fall, vice versa. But it's come out to over 200 trees since 2008. Just last fall, we planted 22 trees in the Thompson Mazzarella Park. I'm not even including those numbers with this. But so once we do identify the trees that are to come down here, we're going to have a plan of replanting in that area. We can't have a plan until we decide where the trees are coming down. So the tree commission is proactive in replanting trees, and that's the plan right now. But we do have to find out where the trees are coming down.
Okay.
So can we clarify where we're at with the motion?
The motion has been tabled.
Okay.
So we'll save that. We will be marking the trees, and part of that idea was to have the red dots so that everyone can have a chance to look at them, go out and see the trees, and then come back, which will be on Monday evening here at 7 o'clock to accept public comment on those particular 21 trees that have been identified. Another remaining issue that came up was the potential for underground power lines. Now, an informal committee was established by prior trustee Gary Kenton to explore the possibility over a year ago. I spoke with him earlier today to discuss the progress that was made before his departure, and I also spoke with Gentry Rouse earlier today, who is a member of this group, and he has agreed to take the lead in forming a formal committee to continue this process. So, I'm going to take another shot at a motion. I would like to make a motion to establish an underground utility committee.
I second that.
Discussion. All's in favor?
Aye.
So we will determine the liaison to that committee at a later date, but please let us know if you'd like to volunteer. Gentry is going to be reaching out to the group of people that previously participated. Some of those were also members of the tree commission. But please send a letter of interest, including any relative experience, if you want to participate, to the attention of the village clerk. So as a recap, to answer some of the submitted questions and comments, the village board did not propose the removal of 127 trees. The list was generated by a joint assessment completed by Central Hudson and our tree commission. Tree pruning or line clearance is regulated by the PSC, not necessarily by local law. The initial number discussed was 127. It was reduced to 114 when some trees were identified to be outside the village. And there were 4 numbers that appeared to have been missed in the sequence, 74, 75, 98, and 99. That reduces the total number that we considered to 110. There was some confusion in regard to when this topic would be discussed, and there was never an intention to limit this discussion to an executive session, as this is certainly a public topic, and as you now know, it's being addressed in a public and very transparent manner. As you can see, our agenda is quite full and includes 3 public hearings tonight. These public hearings were scheduled and posted and must take place as scheduled. So for that reason, we will not be taking public comment related to the street trees at this moment right now. We welcome anyone who wishes to stay for the remainder of this meeting and participate in the public comment session at the end. And in addition, we will be holding a public information question and answer session specific to the tree issue, which has been scheduled for Monday, February 15th at 7 p.m. right here. So that'll give everyone an opportunity to check out the red dots. We'll have the list available with Pat by tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have the red dots marked tomorrow. So we'll give everyone the end of the week and the weekend to check out the trees. So now you only have 21 to look for versus 100 or 114 or 127. So there are really only 21 in play. Yes.
I would urge you to also,
Is it going to be the white dot or the red dot?
The white dots on the trees that will be coming down will be converted to red dots. So if, give us tomorrow to get the red dot on there, but you'll be looking at the red dot and you'll have a number. We'll provide the list through Pat as to what streets they're on, how many to look for on each street, which I summarized, but I know it was a lot and it was fast. So like the primary ones, number 6, there'll be 6 on Route 9 and 6 on East Market Street that are the most in any one place.
I
Go
would
ahead, Scott.
say one thing is that the 21 with the red dots are the one that we're considering. But while you're out there, and if you're reviewing and looking at those, if you have comments on any of the other ones, they are dotted and they are numbered. So certainly if you plan on attending Monday, we'll certainly entertain comments on any of those other trees as well.
Could we just get a brief clarification though, so we can be informed for next Monday?
Sure.
The statement was made that the Public Service Commission regulations or commitment by Central Hudson to the Public Service Commission overrides local law. So there are 2 questions. One, what is the state law that says that that is the case? And number 2, how is it that the gentleman from Central Hudson indicated that in New Paltz they passed a local law which prevented Central Hudson from doing any work on their trees for a number of years? How did they do that if the state law overrides the local law? You don't have to.
We can
It's
get,
interesting to know the answer to the first question tonight, and
Right.
maybe the second one if you know the
I
answer
think
tonight.
Sean can maybe comment on that. Yes, no? Until Monday?
Well, the precise regulatory scheme, I can't cite section and verse for you. But what I can say is that in doing my research, I looked at several proposed ordinances that are disseminated by the state itself. I also looked at other ordinances in cities and villages throughout the state of New York, and they all defer to some type of regulatory standard or industry standard. What happened in New Paltz I can't speak to because I'm not party to that. But what I can say, generally speaking, is that these industry standards are set for a reason, and to have legislation that would somehow mandate them deviating from a standard exposes the village to liability and can ultimately impact the ability of the utility to give power to their customers. So,
Well, that's Central Hudson's view.
I have the numbers, if you, I have the numbers. It's, this is the New York State Public Service Commission, 16 NYCRR, Part 84. Then there's also Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Vegetation Management Reliability Standard.
No, I'm not questioning the standards, I'm questioning whether home
Well,
rule
these
can
are
override
required.
standards.
Well, these were
What's the
required.
citation that allows them
Yeah,
to
these are the
override
citations.
municipal regulations?
These are the regulations that they
But
would be
the
fined
New York
for.
State Public
Correct.
Service Commission.
And then that goes up to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission as well.
Yeah, I'd like to get those from you afterwards, and still begs the question as to how New Paltz.
Well, if you guys could share the numbers, that would be fantastic. We're gonna move along with our portion of the meeting, and I would add that our goal is not to get in a brawl with Central Hudson. Our goal is to work with them, as we have for years with our highway department, the village boards, and tree commission, and certainly not to create a situation where we're telling them to let our trees grow as they may, and put our personal power system, which serves us all, at risk. So we will consider it, and we'll take those comments either at the tail end of this meeting or Monday night. We will continue that piece of the conversation.
That's correct.
So from here, we have our treasurer's report, I believe. Oh, Joel, sorry, Joel. Where is he?
No, he picked that up. And I took
County
it.
Legislator Joel Tyner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I wanted to invite you folks, anybody in the room. We're having our third meeting of Rhinebeck Community Solar, coordinated by Marcia Slatkin over on Chestnut Street. It's going to be across the way at Rhinebeck Town Hall, Tuesday, March 1st at 5:30 p.m. And across the country, 3/4 of homes are unfit for rooftop solar. And there's been, I love the look of solar on people's roofs, whether it's ground-mounted solar, but some people don't like the look of ground-mounted solar. So the idea of community solar and is basically we can save money and go green and have homeowners and businesses and a municipality or two buying into it. It's to the credit of the village of Rhinebeck and the town of Rhinebeck that so many buildings, municipal buildings right here locally have solar that are saving money. So if you want to be part of a Rhinebeck community solar garden, solar plot, then please join us. That's Tuesday, March 1st at 5:30 at Rhinebeck Town Hall. There were some Republicans and Democrats in local governments who were interested last year in possibly using the property out by the town landfill. Just an idea. I don't know if you know this, but I'm still trying to get people to be aware that domestic violence, domestic abuse is an issue all over Dutchess County, including right here in Rhinebeck. Dutchess County Sheriff's Office has confirmed that. Right now, unfortunately, Poughkeepsie, Hyde Park, Beacon, those are the only 3 places that have the Dutchess County Domestic Abuse Response Team covering it. Rhinebeck does not, and the Dutchess County Citizens Advisory Committee on Domestic Violence recommended last summer that the DART program be expanded to Rhinebeck and Wapager. This still hasn't happened. I can't do it alone. I ask people to contact my friends in county government on that. I've reached out to the Village of Rhinebeck Police Department asking for the village police to do the same thing that's happening in Cooperstown and in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and all over the country, which is basically so many people dying of heroin, where basically in Gloucester, the police chief started this a year or 2 ago. He said, if you're a heroin addict, we don't want you to die. We're not going to incarcerate you. Just bring yourself, bring your body, bring your heroin to us. We're not going to arrest you. We're not going to incarcerate you. We're going to get you treated. Seems pretty simple common sense to me. I've been trying to get folks in the county government interested. Maybe a first step could have the Village of Rhinebeck doing this. I can't do it alone. If anybody in this room is interested in this stuff, please. I'm at 464-2245. That's my cell, 876-2488. Last night at the county legislature meeting, it was good to see just about everybody in the county legislature, Republicans and Democrats, signed on to a letter from the End of Crime Fighters and County Legislature Chairman Dale Borkett and myself, pushing for state level or federal action to ban personal care products containing triclosan. You may have seen recently in the media, Maribel Pregnell, Arlington High School teacher, and her students, the End of Crime Fighters. I see no reason why Dutchess County couldn't ban products containing triclosan. The only other thing I was going to say is, as far as the community solar, if you cannot make it Tuesday, March 1st to that meeting, please contact Marcia Slatkin. It's mslatkin@juno.com. She's 917-597-4253. And I would also say, it's been all over the media. It's sort of like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. What should be the priority for us here in Rhinebeck? I live in the town of Clinton. I went to high school in Rhinebeck. But the infrastructure needs of Rhinebeck and the county, there is a $274 million project that's in the works. And I would humbly submit to you, after studying the jail situation for over a decade, we do not need to spend 1 penny of that $274 million boondoggle that's been proposed. And everybody in this room is well aware of the water, sewer, infrastructure needs. Wouldn't it be nice to have some help burying the power lines? So if anybody in this room is interested, we can still stop it. There's going to be a vote on March 21st about that 207, all the bonds are fully paid off over 30 years, it's not $195 million jail expansion, it's $274 million. And I'll just give you one, I have chapter and verse and all the reasons, I'll just give you one. 80% of the inmates in the county jail haven't even gone to trial yet. In Albuquerque, they fixed that. San Bernardino County, they used to spend $6 million a year housing out their inmates all over the state of New Mexico. And they solved that by making sure people are not sitting in jail or don't need to be sitting in jail. Same thing they did in the Bronx. It's not rocket science. I'm at 464-2245, thank you. And also thank you for coming down from 127 to 114 to 110.
Yeah.
It's only a little bit to get down to Dodge, doesn't it? So.
Thanks, Joel. So before we, where is she? There she is, Karen, our treasurer, before we get into our public hearings.
Okay, good evening. My treasurer's report is for the period of January 1st, 2016 to January 31st. The general fund ended the period with $712,619. The water fund ended the month with $548,618. The sewer fund ended the month with $713,714. The vouchers presented for payment in the general fund, including the prepaid, total $52,190.18. In the water fund, $37,701.63. In the sewer fund, $26,896.62. There was also a prepaid bond payment of $42,750. The transfer of funds requested is the transfer to the capital projects for $70,000 for the hydrants valve replacement for the water project, the $100,000 for Montgomery Street water improvement project, and $1,482.16 for the lagoon cleanout, $455 for the Astor Home pump upgrade, $37,020 for the wastewater treatment plant headworks, and I'm also asking for a transfer of funds from the trust fund to the general fund of $6,480, which was a grant from the Lions Club. And along with that, the budget amendment to increase the budget by that $6,480 for the fence for the mini park that was funded by that grant. Also to decrease the line item for the state aid and increase the line item, the second line item for state aid. This year they broke it up into two. It used to be just one state aid account. To reclassify that for $2,828. I'm also asking to increase the revenue line item refunds from prior year by $16,987, and also increase the expense accounts 191004 for unallocated insurance by $10,556, and 1440 by $6,431 to increase the budget for engineering services. The monthly operating statement for February is attached to your treasurer's report. The water and sewer fund adjustments have been reviewed and signed off by the water and sewer liaisons, and they are also attached to your report. So I ask the board for a resolution to authorize the presented billings and adjustments. And lastly, the budget. The budget worksheets have been distributed to the department heads and are due back by Friday, February 12th. The next budget workshop will be held on Tuesday, February 16th at 7 p.m. And the tentative budget shall be filed with the village clerk on or before March 20th. And that's it.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of funds and the budget amendments as presented by the treasurer.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do the water and sewer adjustments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the water and sewer adjustments as outlined in the report.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Karen.
thank you.
So, but one more thing before we get into our public hearings for tonight. I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing for March 8th at 7 p.m. In regards to vehicle and traffic law, extending the 2-hour parking on the west end of West Market and the south end of Oak Street.
March 8th.
That's the regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that one's out of the way. So the first public hearing is on vehicle and traffic. This one is, there's 2 pieces to it. The first piece is reserving the parking here on Center Street between the corner with East Market and the police station. So the idea is to reserve those spots for individuals doing business at the police department or here at the Village Hall during business hours. So if you're coming in to pay your water bill, you don't have to park on the other side of the municipal lot. We've been around a couple times with that to get it just right, and this is also going to push our employees to the new lot that's been paved and striped out behind the building here. So free up parking for the public. So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on the vehicle and traffic code.
Second.
Discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
So do we have the sheet? Anyone wants? And while she's looking for the sheet, is there anyone who wants to speak on this? It also pertains to establishing a speed limit in Thompson-Mazzarella Park on Traver Road, actually throughout the park at 10 miles per hour. We've had a request from the park committee to establish a speed limit. Looking at the date here, last night the town board passed a resolution in support of a 10-mile-an-hour limit. That's Robert. These guys right here. Do you want to make a comment?
Sure.
Okay. It's your turn. Just tell us who you are, where you live, and as a reminder, forgot to put out the ground rules. You got 3 minutes, and the comments should be directed to the board and not back and forth between other members of the public. I'm not expecting that from you, Bob, but just want to lay down the rules from the start here.
My name is Bob Elvis. I'm the chairperson of the Thomas Thompson Sally Mazzarella Park. As anybody knows, I'm a native. I've lived here all my life. One of the reasons when we put in the new roadway to the park was we didn't want to put in speed bumps similar to what was done in the old going down to the swimming pool in the old way. Number one, people were speeding anyway, even though the speeds, even though the bumps were there. And we felt it also took away from the aesthetics of the road. So what we wanted to do was to have the village, and I talked to Heath and I talked to Pete Dunn, and to be able to, for them to enforce any speed limit, there needed to be a speed limit set by the village board and signs posted. So that's why I recommended a speed limit of 10 miles an hour. The reason for the low speed limit is we've got we hope to have a lot of people walking down to the pool, which would be right along that roadway, and we felt it very, very apprehensive to make sure that, the people that are walking, there's no problem, and to be able to do that. I mean, I've seen parents going down to pick up their kids when the speed bumps are there and just flying running over things, and I think we need to control the speed there because there are children walking all over that place and during the summer, and we need to control the speed limit on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. I would add to that, when you're coming down the hill, I've worked there for a number of years, that it's a blind, you don't see the gate, and the road goes right through the parking lot, so anybody exiting the pool has to walk through the main pattern of traffic, and that's where lots of kids go back and forth through there. Do you want to say anything, Sally?
I don't have much to say because Bob covered most of it, but I do have a petition with
48 names, also asking that the trustees consider reducing that speed limit for safety for the public. So
Well,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to give this to Pat.
Sally, does the petition have a specific speed limit?
It says no greater than 15 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public on the vehicle and traffic code change?
And this resolution is for 10.
Yes,
Okay.
it's for 10.
So we-
Can you give that to Pat to file? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution as it pertains to the vehicle and traffic code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Pat, you got that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you don't need it. So the second one we have here is on animals in the village. This has come about, there has been a question on a number of acres, and particularly the maturity of, what do we got there? Of an animal. So there had been some question as to our current code defines, limits only adult animals, farm animals. So there has been some question and confusion as to when does a pig or a horse or a goat become an adult. So the main thing here is that we have removed the term adult so that all farm animals will be included. So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing in regards to the amendment to the farm animal portion of the code.
Second.
Thank you, Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we close the public hearing yet?
Yeah.
We did? Good, thank you. So we have signed in here Christiana Abel. Is that correct? She's not going to talk. Okay. Amy Hepworth.
Could you go first? Yeah. Can we reverse order?
Sure.
I know everyone's sort of laughing about the animal thing, but it does affect our particular property and our project.
So just tell us who you are. And
My name is Diana Cohen, and I'm the founder and director of Primrose Hill School in Rhinebeck, which is a New York State Education Corporation, new school in Rhinebeck. I'm here speaking on behalf of the 45 children that we have enrolled at our school, which includes their parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, all of who really support what we're doing in our community, so it's not a small number of people. I'd just like to say a few things about the type of education that we offer. Primrose Hill School follows the Waldorf philosophy. And if I could say one thing about Waldorf education, it would be that it teaches children to have reverence for all living beings, including animals. We are passionate advocates of learning through experiential, nature-based program, which is what we do, and we're blessed to be in Rhinebeck. A core component of our curriculum is the farm and the animals. We purchased the property at Springbrook Park specifically because it is zoned to support our vision of a school and a farm. And by the way, on the property was already a barn and a fence, and I don't know the exact history of it, but you know that it does indicate that it was a farm. We are attracting families that want to be at our school specifically because they want their children to be around animals and to know where their food comes from, and that's also a big part of what we do is that kind of education. I know it sounds silly, but there are people who think that chicken comes from a plastic wrapper at Stop and Shop, as crazy as that sounds. So I strongly oppose the new zoning law because not only does it directly affect our ability to do business in terms of attracting the kind of parents that we want and children at our school, but it feels like it impacts our freedom to educate the children as an independent school. The current regulations do not, we feel, impede on this freedom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Hepworth from Hepworth Farms across the river. It's nice to come to a community that likes to work together and be interested in the well-being of the community. I was privileged enough to come here and work to associate this school with a farm, and we've picked Green Acres down the road to help the school develop their farm curriculum. And I'm not sure if you're getting any complaints. I'm new to your county. I am and do specialize in ag development and community strengthening through economic development. And I've been privileged to work with this team here that is very community oriented, and I think they have the best interest of the children. And when it comes to kids, I mean, I see that we're all, maybe a majority of us above 50 today here, but we always have to keep in mind the future. And in your hamlet, you have a school that can enhance the quality of the life from even a little time ago to what it is today. And so the future's bright here. And I don't know what the ordinance exactly is. And if you don't want animals in your village for farming as a industry, I can understand it. But I'd like to know if there were complaints or anything regarding, because we do have it scheduled and we're intending to put a farm that will be productive and complement in the Waldorf and the biodynamic system, a farm in Red Green Acres. You know where that is? They're in the process of putting that farm together to help the school. The school is building. Alrighty. And so I would be very open-minded to think for the children, and if it's not smelling or causing too much aggravation for anybody, I'd like to talk to them if it is, because these people are very responsible. And on behalf of what I do in work, I'd like to compliment this community for working so closely together and working it out. And I would really hope that you could work this out in a very open-minded way, because it's kind of creative. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Good evening, board members. My name is Paul Ackerman. I'm an attorney from Poughkeepsie, New York. I am here today to tell you what the legal definition of an adult pig is. I represent the Primrose Hill School and their founders, the Cohens. While this proposed amendment to the zoning code may seem innocuous to most, it has a devastating effect on their school and their ability to operate. Their school was founded in 2013. They came here specifically, sought out that property, did their investigation to the property, and determined that they could operate under the current zoning code, the school that they do today. This change will change that for them, and to them it's a very devastating thing. I want to ask the board today to reconsider this amendment, or at the very least to work with my clients and myself to try to come up to some solution that would allow my clients to not only run their business, to they have plans of improving their school up there, so that we're able to do that. I think there's some technical issues that the board needs to address. One is I did not see, and I'm not saying that it's not done, but I didn't see a referral to the county under 239M of the General Municipal Law, which is required to be done by the village anytime it amends its zoning code. If it has been done, I would like to see that. I tried to look up some of the resolution adopting or setting this public hearing and see if that was circulated. I did not see that. I noticed that the board is taking the position that this is a type 2 action under seeker. I would challenge that decision. I would think that the exemption that you're relying on relies on changes to farm practices that are regularly held. My clients have documentation that they do that. So that's not the issue here, it's the actual use of the property, and it's a use that is going to result in them not being able to continue. So I think that reliance on that type 2 secret designation is misplaced. And the third thing is the constitutional issue. Beyond my clients being unable to continue their business, I think that some of the wording in the way that this has been drafted, it says here that you can't keep other 4-legged domestic animals. To me, that is just a regular dog or cat. And so here now, village-wide, you're regulating what a typical household person can have in their house, which I think is problematic constitutionally. So I would just ask the board to reconsider this, to work with my clients. I'd be happy to assist that we can come to some resolution that would solve the problem that is best for the board and my clients. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hoyt, and I'm a resident of Kramer Park, the neighboring community to Primrose Hill School. And I'd just like to thank the board for their keeping in mind over the past year the current concerns that the residents have had and expressed over the past year concerning the farm going up next door to us. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public? Come on up there, John.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is John Barricchio. I live at 47 Violet Place in the village of Rhinebeck. I just have a couple of questions, and maybe the board should be informed. When the school moved into Rhinebeck, into the village, Primrose Hill School, in 2013, were they in compliance with the present zoning ordinance on the keeping of farm animals on a non-farm lot? And also, the other question I have is, how many acres does a school own or use by lease that are in production at the present time with their activities? Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Dave Gelb, I live at 36 Mulberry Street. And, I don't want chickens growing right next to my house. I'm obviously 40 chickens or 40 pigs. But he's right. Were they in compliance when they came in? And I'm all for the lawyer gentleman who said, just move a little slowly and see if there's a resolution, rather than a blanket law that says no 4-footed animals in the village. That's it. Just move a little slowly and see if we can work it out for both sides. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm apologizing for my appearance, but I had an appointment with the dermatologist today. But I'm here to speak about the portion of the ordinance that deals with chickens, because we've had firsthand experience with chickens in the village. Somebody raising them, I think, perhaps not quite under cover of law. And they're a nuisance. They smell, they make noise, and they attack rodents. I certainly don't want to spoil the school program because one of our grandchildren is a student in a Waldorf school someplace else. But I'm talking purely as a homeowner who wants to be able to enjoy my property quietly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Michael. Last
I didn't put my name down. Michael Gay, Oak Street. The one thing I was reading about it, storage of manure 50 feet from a line, I think was on there. I didn't copy it, so I would say this looks like this would be about 50 feet right here, and knowing my wife's family and the storage of manure upstate, 50 feet to me doesn't seem like it's a long enough distance. I would just kind of say that in my mind should be longer. I mean, I can smell silage from the farm on my house at Oak Street when it's put on the cornfields. That's manure.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last chance. Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second. Discussion? All's in favor? Aye. Maybe you guys can answer some of the questions, but I can answer some of them. In terms of the chickens, this amendment does not address chickens other than that they will remain non-permitted on this property, or these types of properties. Further, in this, the only other change, I think it was 2 acres and we've reduced it to 1 acre, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, so the regulation was more restrictive. Previously, it required 2 acres for an animal. Now we've reduced it to 1 acre. So it's a little more forgiving there. And we did add the 50 feet was not part of the change, correct?
Right.
So that was unchanged, the 50 feet rule.
No, that is a change.
Where is it?
Well, it's,
About
on the new,
the manure.
it's in the new ordinance. It's not new.
About manure?
Right. It's right here. Any more manure storage
Okay,
shall be
got it.
maintained not less than 50 feet. And the old ordinance didn't speak to that. Which one was it? Oh, this is the one I have. Right. Well, I can speak to this. I probably know the most about it. I'm the liaison to the planning board, and I've been at numerous planning board meetings where Primrose Hill School has been the applicant. So I know a bit about what they're doing and what maybe their future plan is. We've also had in the audience a lot of the residents of Kramer Park who woke up one day and had some farm animals in their backyard. So we were here and there to listen to both sides, and we certainly understand the mission of the Primrose School. And we certainly want to be able to honor and listen to the residents of Kramer Park who now have to deal with these farm animals. This new or change of ordinance was a bit of a compromise, and the way it was previously written, it really didn't speak to the total quantity of animals. It spoke to the quantity of adult animals, but it seems as if that you could have many immature animals, like numerous amounts, beyond us being able to count. So we thought that was necessary. That really wasn't the spirit of the law to have as many animals as you wanted, but the spirit of the law was to have one large animal per 2 acres. So when we talked about rewriting this, we talked about another thing that was unclear in the old ordinance was that it didn't speak to the amount of pasture. It just said 2 acres of land. So if you had an acre of parking and a half an acre of a house, then it would only leave a half acre of pasture. So we thought it was necessary to clarify that the pasture land needed to be dedicated to animals. So it was the quantity of animals that we tried to put a limit to, and then being able to maintain those animals with pasture. So we wanted to be able to do that as well. And then we thought, since now this farm is adjacent to a previously established subdivision and houses, that we should somehow be able to protect them with the storage of manure. So those are the 3 things that we tried to work as a compromise. You can have more animals, it's 1 acre, but it's pasture land, it's not total acreage that you would have to your lot. So those are the 3 things, the 3 kind of changes that we felt necessary to try to get a grasp on how this could come together.
And I would add that came from, the language, I believe, came from the zoning commission, which has been working through our code for over a year now.
Yeah, right.
And this was just one little piece of it that they generated. I know there were some questions about the format of our resolution. I can assure you that I did not write it, nor did Scott. It came from our village attorney. And as Scott mentioned, the property has been in front of our planning and zoning board, and I would encourage them to continue to participate through the process.
Could I ask a question? How many adult pigs can a person have on 1 acre parcel in the village?
Right now?
Right
now, 0.
Right now and with the new event?
1.
1, in both cases.
No, currently 0, because you have to have 2 acres.
Yeah, 2 acres.
Yes.
You'll be able to have one. Okay.
You have 1 on 1 acre. Yep. Of pasture, fenced pasture.
There are
And
farm,
that's true of all big farm animals, cows, sheep.
Yeah.
right, they would all be the same.
Okay.
But you can't have 1 of each. You can have 1 of from that group.
Right,
Yeah.
one large house.
One creature. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve this with the addition of the word farm, further describing 4-legged domestic type farm animals. That word was omitted.
That's correct, that word was amended, but Mr. Ackerman does bring up some procedural points that I think should be addressed in the absence of our village attorney. I don't know if it's...
So you want to table that?
I would like to table it.
Okay. So we'll have to address that with the village attorney, and should have known that before we closed the public hearing. So we'll have to probably have another one, so come back again, we'll announce it when it happens. What's that? No, the motion was tabled.
Right, is there a vote on the motion to table?
The motion was withdrawn.
He's asking, are we gonna make a vote to table the motion?
No, I withdrew my motion. So there is no motion. There's no decision. Public hearing was closed, and there is no decision from the board. So the next one is on the yard waste and brush removal. That's the next public hearing. Do you want to give some history on it first, Howard?
Yeah, I'm the liaison to the highway department. Currently, there is no schedule that we have for the brush pickup, and a lot of times, as everybody knows, there's a lot of brush out on the streets. You don't know when it's going to be picked up. It depends on the scheduling of the highway department. Sometimes they're busy doing other things. And it could take maybe a week or 2 to pick up your brush. So we're attempting to have a schedule so that we can try to keep the streets clean of brush. I can read the purpose here. It says, "It is hereby declared the policy of the Village of Rhinebeck to preserve and maintain the clean and wholesome character of its environs and to preserve and maintain the health and welfare of its residents within the incorporated are of the village, and in so doing is necessary to establish regulations governing the collection and disposal of yard materials within the Village of Rhinebeck." And there's a little schedule here that we have proposed. It said there shall be a period of 6 weeks between April 1st and May 1st, and 4 weeks between October 15th and November 15th every year to pick up the yard waste. It doesn't say on here the monthly schedule. Where's the monthly schedule?
38-4.
Oh, okay, on the second page. The village board adopts a motion pursuant to 38-2 above. The board should also designate by motion no less than 1 weekday per month for regular pickup of brush, limbs, and leaves, providing for such weekly collection during the period of April 1st through September 30th.
That's confusing.
Yard waste may be placed at the curb the weekend before the established collection date. And we'd like to set the pickup date as the first week of the month.
For just the
So that's April?
trees.
No, yard waste. Brush. Well, let me just finish here. So between April, May, June, July, August, September, that's 6 months, the first week. Well, it's after April, sorry, because April, this is written wrong.
There you go.
Okay, so you will have a spring cleanup from April 1st to May 15th.
Right.
And then June, July, August, and September, there will be one pickup on a day to be designated by the village board.
A week or month?
1 day a month. Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there is one piece in here under 38-5, under the placement of materials for collection. The portion about it being placed in receptacles or cardboard boxes will be removed from this section. So that was missed in the last revision. So that our intention is not to require bags or containers. You can still place it on the curb as you always have. And to further Howie's comments, the highway department has great difficulty keeping up with the brush, as when they're on one end of South Street, the house where they just picked up the brush is now piling brush on the street behind them, and then other residents are frustrated because we don't come back around to that spot again for a few weeks. So it's a continuous cycle, and we're looking to consolidate and make it a more efficient process that still delivers the service to the residents, but we are working on a constrained budget with constrained manpower, and to send a truck out 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, wandering around to look for brushes is not really working anymore in terms of an efficiency model.
And it does keep us from providing that manpower for other maintenance projects. So we can comment in a minute. So I just want to let you know. So it's just a way to make it more efficient, and to make it so, to Heath's point, is that there's not always brush in the street. So it's a matter of streamlining that process. And I know there's a big long list of people that want to comment on this, and we're willing to listen to it. But can we open it? Not yet. I'm just making
You're welcome.
Okay. So, but that's the idea behind it, and we know that there's lots of different ideas. We just want you to know that it's a way to try to use our manpower more efficiently in the highway department, so they can do other things that are just as important, like maintaining catch basins and paving and patching and potholes and that type of thing.
Currently, it would take 8 guys to do this task here. 4 trucks, 2 guys in the backhoes, and 2 guys flagging. Now the highway department is down to four guys through attrition. So we're trying to limit the amount of time that they have picking up brush.
I think backhoes would speed it up.
So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing in regards to the brush and yard waste removal amendment that's on the table.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we got Gerald Lutz, is that right?
Yes.
Would you like to come on up?
Is it too late to get your name on it?
It is not. I'm going to add yours right now, Joanne. You're on the list.
Hi, I'm Jerry Lutz, 120 East Market Street. You've probably seen me out many times sweeping the road, keeping it clean. Can we use our own receptacles? I have 2 30-gallon garbage pails. Can I put them out?
Yes, you can.
Okay, don't empty them out, and I can continue to use them. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tom Ewert.
No comments at this point.
No
I'm probably
comments.
confused after listening to you guys.
It's working. Well, how did we try that earlier? Michael.
Michael Gee, Oak Street. I was reading the regulations and it said, don't put it in the curb or the street. Otherwise you have this fine. And if you look at the majority of houses on Oak Street, including Scott's, there are no curbs, there are no, anywhere else to put it, because there's no front yards or side yards. The west side of the street, most of those houses are up with walls or fences. You have to put it in the street. And the bottom of Livingston Street appears to be the same, so there are exceptions to that, the way it's written. It's the way I see it, although, I wouldn't want to put it.
I think the intent is to discourage people from, putting a pile that's 14 feet wide and obstructs a complete lane of traffic, and or placing fine materials directly on the storm drain, so then the water backs up and floods out the neighbor's basement, and then we have to get the storm drains pumped out. So that's the intent of this.
Am I hearing correctly that basically you want to do it the first week of each month, and you can put it out on the weekend before that, and then in the following 3 weeks you don't want anything out there? Okay.
You would
Store it on your own place and
stage it wherever you wanted, maybe in your 30-gallon buckets and around the back, and drag it out on that weekend, or
right.
that's the idea.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment. I think it's, just for clarification, if you so choose, you could still take it to the highway department and dump it any time, is that correct?
No, not our highway department. You
The
can
village,
take it,
the
no,
town, I mean.
the town transfer station. They have certain days, I believe it's Saturdays that they accept brush up there, I think. It's in the.
They do have a schedule.
It's a
Brush
schedule, it's on the,
dump.
it's on the town, I believe it is third Saturday. It's on the town website. And as village residents, you are permitted to take your yard debris there as well as trash. Lauren Belvin?
Thank you. My concern
Can
is
you
over.
come on up here for us? Thank you.
This will be very quick. I'm Lauren Belvin. I live at 29 Beach Street. And my concern was over the proposed required use of bags and cardboard cartons, which I thought was not a very well-considered idea, and I'm gratified to hear it is no longer part of the proposed ordinance. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we've researched many of options. Some places are very successful with the bags, but we didn't think it was necessary here in the village, so we're going to continue with the placement as is. John?
You've answered my question, so I'll pass.
Save you a few steps. Brenda?
Okay. I'm Brenda Clapworth, and I live at 132 East Market Street. And I'm glad that you have clarified a lot of my concerns, and so I'll be a lot briefer than I might have been before. I don't really, when I look at the purpose, I'm not quite sure. It seems like a little bit much. This is to maintain the health and welfare of its residents. Was it not healthy before the way we were doing it? It's kind of a funny wording, but you don't really have to answer that, just kind of a comment. For the annual yard waste to begin with, from April 1st to under 38.2, are we saying for those two periods, we can put them out whenever?
That's correct.
So that is no change there.
Correct.
And we can put them, we don't have to wait, just like we're doing today.
That's correct.
That's a good thing. Okay, I wasn't clear about that. That's fine, that's very well done, okay? The dates didn't quite seem to match, the April 1 to May 15th and later on.
That was what I said.
Yeah, and then later on you go under,
It should go from.
yeah,
It should be June 1st.
June 1st through September 30th.
Yeah.
okay, so you have to clean that up.
Yeah.
And I thought the whole description under 38.4 was very poor. You talk about no less than 1 weekday per month, and then later on providing for such weekly collection. So it sounds, is it every, you said it isn't every week, but I don't know what you mean then for such weekly collection, if it's only once a month.
That's correct.
But what does for each weekly collection mean?
It means it was an error.
Okay. Okay. I'm not, this is you can make errors as long as, I'm feeling better.
That would be our attorney.
Yeah, we're going to blame it on our attorney.
No, he's not here, not here.
Now we know why you took the night off.
Right. And I'm glad about, I can put my can out, this is good, but my only really concern left, and I'm really unhappy about, I do feel that, we do pay a fair amount in village taxes, and we are losing some of our services over time. We have since I've been here since '72. And I do want to keep the taxes down, so I understand sometimes we do have to lose services. But to go from picking up whenever I want to put them out to one time a month, to me, I have a big garden, lots of gardens, lots of bushes. I do have no place, I compost, I have 2 composters going, but I do not have room to put things like when I prune bushes, and to me, once a month is not at all satisfactory. I could live with twice a month. Now that I have cans, but how many cans can I have? I don't want to go to the town dump. I don't feel I should have to go to a town dump. So I just wish you would consider maybe twice a month. Then I really wouldn't be unhappy.
Twice a month with cans.
Thank
It's
you.
more efficient to pick it up.
Let me just
Well, it does
also,
say no less than 1 time a month.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
that part
Well,
is
that
right.
would be
We could do more if it's not working. But as you stated, more than once a month would be great. But as it stands now, sometimes it's less than once a month.
But I could
for
always
the-
put it out.
Well, you can put it out.
But can I put it out? Because it's saying.
No.
Yeah, it's saying
The
no.
idea is to keep the mess off the street.
I like
and
mess
keep
on the street.
Keep the streets clean until they come around again.
But it says it should be put on, you may be placed. Now, may, when you say may. So if I don't care to, I don't have to. It doesn't say you can, this
You
is
can
under
keep it.
38.4. You may be placed at the curb the weekend before. It doesn't say it can only be placed. So again, that's very vague. Where's your lawyer?
Well, I think that gives you the option to place it or not place it. You may place it or you may not place it.
So I can put it out the day after you pick it up?
No,
No.
no. Then you're looking at 38.7, we're coming.
Yeah.
Let me just say, we've been thinking about this for a few years,
Okay.
but now we're forced to do something because through attrition, our highway department, as I said, we're down from 8 guys down to 4. 3 guys have left, and we reassigned 1 person to the village hall here. So we're kind of forced to do something now. And the other thing I want to say is Heath and I, we go to different municipalities to see how they do it. We visited Troy, we visited East Greenbush. We might be going up near Buffalo. You don't know about that one yet. And we look at all the equipment that they're using. There's actually 1 truck that can pick it up, 1 guy operating a truck, clamshell, picking it up, putting it in the back of the truck. 1-man operation. So we are looking around. We're just not doing this off the top of our head.
Well,
There are more efficient ways of picking up brush.
once a month. Once a month.
Twice a month.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the dueling background, for the record. Sherry?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, guys. As a village resident, Brenda, you covered everything beautifully, and I agree with you for twice a month. My husband is also a landscaper. He's the tree commission guy who labeled the trees as well. And from a resident perspective, and those of you that might use him, and there's many village residents who already use him, I see the once a month being a bit of an issue with how do you get that out, people that may not be here during the week, and figuring out those schedules. So twice a month does make a lot more sense. It sounds like there's some room for that. So I hope that you'll take that into consideration. And Brenda, I think that you could be an attorney if you'd like to be.
I was in my other life.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I have one more comment. Keith,
Yes.
you knew every single one of us. You picked us out of the crowd, and that's very impressive.
Well,
I
thank
know
you.
you're from here, but
Right.
I enjoyed watching it.
Probably gonna miss a couple now. Joanne, you're up.
Miss a couple now.
Hi, I'm Joanne Gill, 36 Mulberry Street. I do like the comments about twice a month, and I also recognize the problem you're having with budgets and losing people from the highway department who do a very good job under other circumstances. My concern is also about the fall. Right now, I get a lot of leaves dropping from the trees, though that may change when I get up tomorrow and see red dots. So I may not have that problem
I don't think
again.
there's any trees by your house that are gonna have red dots.
I especially want to say that I had an issue this year, and everybody was great in getting it resolved. Come around Halloween time, when you're going to have a lot of children. This was my problem this year, that we did not know the schedule, and we wanted to make sure that nobody tripped on our property getting to the door. And so he meticulously got up all the leaves, and then I realized that there was no pickup. So I just ask you all to, try to communicate with us, like if we know when they're coming. You know, if I had known that the day to do it would have been 2 days before, I would have complied. And the other thing is to consider, if it doesn't fit into the schedule as you have it planned now, that just before certain things like Halloween, when there's going to be a lot of people and children walking around, that we want to have everybody's and the streets as clear as possible. Okay, thanks.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I just want, Joanne, I just want to let you know is that as a part of 38.2, there's unlimited pickup of yard waste and brush from October 15th to November 15th, as you currently have. So there's no change in that. It's only the period between June 1st and September that it would be once a week, or at least once a week.
And what is it during the fall? Once a month.
No,
Unlimited.
around Halloween, there's gonna be, you can put leaves out there every day. There's enough leaves to keep the highway crew busy 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week. So they may not get to yours, you know, the day before, 2 days before Halloween, because they can't do the whole village at one time. So they're gonna make a pass and.
But it is our intent to set a schedule that becomes more predictable.
Right.
For you, so that you're not dealing with that issue of when's the next pickup coming. So there's two components that we have going on here. One, regularity and predictability that could be solved with a reasonable schedule. And then there's the frequency that Brenda and some others had spoke to about. One's probably not enough, maybe we should do two. But there are two issues that we're trying to tackle with this ordinance.
Right, and communication, like even if it's on a website, I don't want to give anybody that maintains the website more work, but if there's an update or a change, if it's put on there.
That's
Yeah, we
correct.
will have a posted schedule, once we get this all finalized, there will be a posted schedule for zones and days of when they're gonna be, particularly in the non-fall and spring cleanup time zones. Anybody else wanna talk about brush and yard? Yes, Doug?
Dodd Creighton, 78 Livingston Street. Did I understand that I have to now place the brush off of the street onto the yard in order for it to be picked up?
No, we want to keep it off the street until the pickup day.
Oh, so you can move it out the day or a couple of days before, but you
Right.
couldn't put it in the street at that point?
Yeah, if you're right on the edge of the street, it's fine. It's those huge piles that, you know, we had a couple.
Yeah, I had one too. No, I
We
was
only have
concerned
one lane
if
of
we
traffic.
couldn't get it in the street because the current pickup technology is pretty rough, it would
That's
destroy
right.
us.
Right,
Yep.
right,
Fine, thanks.
Donna Warner, 23 Beach. No, just a clarification. What's the last date for pickup?
For
In
in
the
the fall? Here it's November 15th, but
I'd
usually.
like to change that.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah.
December 1st.
I've got
And-
trees on Beach
Yeah.
Street that don't even drop and.
Basically, if
Right.
it doesn't snow, they were out picking up leaves, I think, last week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ongoing as long as they can get to them, but please, put them out before.
Will do.
I'd like to change that to December 1st.
Yep. Anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, stuck up there.
I think I'm slow, but I need,
I know.
I need to control you, 36 Arnett Road. If we're not supposed to, but I live on a corner and the property is elevated. So I have no place to put leaves except in the street or in my driveway. And if I put them in my driveway, you're gonna claw my blacktop to death. So
You're talking leaves or brush?
either one, I don't have any place.
Because I think what we're saying here during the fall, leaves, I think we can put them in the street.
Yeah, that's not the intent. I think the intent, and I gotta see where it is exactly.
It does say under, not on the road, in the gutter, or covering stormwater drains, under 38.5.
So that's gonna need some refinement. I think the intent here is to have it so it doesn't impede traffic.
Right.
And so I think there's been enough comments here where we're probably gonna have to do some refining to this to make it a little bit more clear and a little bit more
Because I didn't
definable.
see this, and if there's a fine attached, I don't know.
Yeah, there are some fines there, but I think to your point, the brush will be in the street. It's just, I think, to the extent that it's in the street that we're trying to limit, so it doesn't become a hazard to traffic.
Okay, previously, nobody has wanted me to put leaves on North Park,
Right.
but I'm on, I have no, I don't know what you want me to do.
You're on the corner of Arnett and North Park?
And it's elevated,
Yeah, I
so
know,
there is
yeah,
no
yeah.
gradual,
Right.
so just,
Yeah,
There's
well,
probably,
we're
there
gonna-
hasn't been any issue with picking up the brush and leaves there, right? I mean, I don't recall. So I would expect that you could probably, I'm just taking a stab at this, that you could probably continue doing it the way you've been doing it.
Nancy, get it ready, Scott.
Until you get a fine.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Are you still want to talk, or are you sneaking out? Okay. Okay, Tom.
My name is Tom Johnson. I work for the Village of Rhinebeck.
Highway Department.
Highway Department.
It's his fault.
Talking about
It's his
leaf and
fault.
brush and stuff. To be more efficient and to make your yards look great, the best thing you can do as a whole is to separate your brush and your leaves. We can move like no tomorrow if they're collated. If they're together, we have to wait for the backhoes, because that's when we can lift the heavy stuff.
Yeah, we have a vacuum truck that can pick up the leaves, but if there's brush mixed in with the leaves, then it clogs up the vacuum truck.
Thank you.
So, for a period of time, we can use the vacuum truck, but when it rains, then those leaves get too heavy too, Tom, right?
Pardon me?
When it rains, the leaves get too heavy to pick up with the vacuum truck, so.
They'll pick them up. Usually the first 3 or 4 inches are usually what gets wet, you know? Usually it's dry underneath, but if there's sticks, forget it.
Yeah.
And I agree with twice a month.
Job security.
You know, I can understand our former mayor loved to see the streets of Rhinebeck clean.
So does your current mayor.
It's our own opinion, that he catered to the public safety. Okay, so whenever he saw piles, he would tell us to go hit that street, you know? And he loved to look down the street and see it nice and clean. But again, on numerous occasions, we go out there picking stuff up, and we don't get any more than 50 feet away, and there's people bringing stuff right back out. So it's discouraging.
That's why we're trying to establish a schedule.
Thanks, Tom. Is there anybody else on yard waste and brush cleanup? Yes, Sally?
I have to apologize because I don't pay village taxes, but I feel like I spend my life in the village. And there's no question, it's a challenging issue. You're dealing with dollars and cents. That's what it boils down to. Going from 8 men to 4 men, that has to be a devastating task for people to try and clean village streets. But I saw a tremendous effort here of the village trustees in reducing 126 or 127 trees down to 21 trees. And a lot of that had to do with caring about how this village looks. And it's, you know, the visual beauty of Rhinebeck. And the past couple of years, I know I've been so disturbed driving up and down the village streets and seeing the amount of leaves and brush that are just stacked along the fronts of properties. And I really felt disturbed because just as these wonderful trees make a wonderful statement for our community, it is not pleasant for people that live on these streets or visitors and tourists to enjoy the beautiful architecture of this community to see all the debris along the roadside. I encourage you in traveling around the state and finding innovative ways, or people that are buying, towns that are in villages buying equipment, that may be the answer. That investment may have to be made, but it's just as important to be sure that our village streets are cleaned up, so that way we as citizens and visitors can enjoy this wonderful village. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. I can assure you that at least I share your concern about the brush pickup, and I lived in the village of Fayetteville up outside of Syracuse, and they use a grapple truck, which Howie mentioned has an arm that comes down, picks up the leaf pile, puts it in the bucket, and they drive on. So that's why Howie and I have toured the state, and I've been looking for some some support to, spend $125,000 on it. On this really neat piece of equipment that maybe could reach our goals.
But if we get that truck, it might eliminate some other equipment, so it's not, we're trying not to overspend.
And we've had, I think, three demos here in the village of these types of piece of equipment have been out driving around with our own highway guys operating to see if it's something we may be able to get to work. So we're trying to move forward and do it easier.
You're right up, use that truck in the office?
In the what?
In the office.
Yeah, well, I've approached the village of Red Hook and the village of Tivoli in the past to do a shared service. Yes, Paul?
Paul Niederkorn, I live at 132 East Market Street. Now, I agree that some people don't like to see the rubbish or whatever it is, the yard waste along the streets. On the other hand, many people do enjoy the gardens that are in the village, and particularly the garden that Brenda has. We had all kinds of compliments. We have people that come by just to see what's in bloom now. If we're going to have gardens like that to enhance the village, also we need to somehow take care of the waste that the gardens produce. Every so often you have to go in and refurbish, remove the dead plants or whatever at a particular time so that the next version of the plants can come and bloom. So it's a trade-off. Do you like to see the beautiful gardens that people have in the village? Then you're going to have to put up with taking away the waste that they produce. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Anybody else on yard waste and emergency pickup? Yes, sir.
What about the people that are on weekenders that come up here only on the weekend? What about how they're gonna get rid of theirs because?
Well, they're gonna hire Nick Monaco.
No, they can do the work on the weekend.
Whether it's raining or 95
Well,
degrees.
we can't control the weather.
Well, yeah, right, but that's the one problem, you just can't control the weather, so it may not be conducive to that Monday pickup.
Well, they'll probably have two chances.
There
if
you
we
go,
to
and
two
one
times-
day's bound
two
to be
times a
good of the
month.
two, right?
Yep. Anybody else?
Well, having the can helps too, though. I mean, being able to store it and things, which
Right.
wasn't in the law before.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should encourage a can. I mean, that certainly would make it more efficient to pick up
Right.
Well, yeah.
needed equipment.
It's- Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn this public hearing until March 8th at 7 o'clock. So we will continue the discussion, hopefully with a new draft available for review at least 7 days prior to that next meeting. That was a motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So Pat, you have that one, so that makes two, well, there'll probably be three. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, let's make sure we get it right first. Right.
Well, thank you. This is
You're
a very
welcome.
entertaining meeting. Had a lot of fun.
That's our goal.
You should come more often. We just started.
What, is it always
We don't
this
like to
fun?
do this by ourselves.
No,
I don't
just
know if
started.
you really want us all the time.
invigorating having a crowd.
Yeah, we're leaving.
Okay, so we're gonna go into the remainder of the department reports. And we have tonight, we have the police department first. Try to add a new order. Okay, so for the past month, January of 2016, we had 26 incidents in the town, 97 incidents in the village, 10 tickets in the town, 97 tickets in the village, a total of 15 arrests and 15 auto accidents. So we got a little yearly report here for you. What did I say? 50. Okay, getting blurry. 5 accidents, 15 arrests, that's what it was. Okay, so for this year, in the village, we had 1,220 calls for service, in the town 326, and out of the jurisdiction, 15. So we saw a slight increase in the village, slight decrease in the town, both under 1%, and a significant decrease of calls outside the jurisdiction. Arrests, we had 77 in the village, representing a 4% increase, 6 in the town, representing a 33% decrease. There were 1,173 tickets issued in the village, which is a 30% increase, 235 in the town for an 11% increase. And that about sums it up for the police report. Moving on to fire. Got a couple firefighters just stuck it out for us over here.
The Rhinebeck Fire Department Village Board report for February 9th, 2016. For the month of January, there were a total of 23 fire calls, 17 of which were in the town, 4 were in the village, and the fire department provided mutual aid to other fire departments at 2 times. In January, there were 52 EMS calls, 27 in the town, 24 in the village, and 1 mutual aid. There were also 3 motor vehicle accidents, 2 in the town, 1 in the village. The EMS department didn't respond to 4 calls, therefore their response percentage was 92.72. Their average response time was 8.43 minutes. 33 patients were transported this month, 28 to Northern Dutchess Hospital, 3 to Mid-Hudson Regional, and 1 to Vassar Brothers Medical Center, and 1 to Kingston Hospital as well. All the fire equipment has been inventoried, and a complete report of the inventory will be given to the village for our records, and an inventory of all the EMS equipment is in progress. We also have an ISO audit, which is scheduled for tomorrow. That all has to do with our insurance, our fire insurance that we all have on our homes. They come and review the equipment that we have and our water sources, our hydrants and such, and then they re-score us, and then it's all reflected in our fire insurance for our homeowners. The annual OSHA training and personnel physicals have been scheduled. The fire department completed their first training on blood-borne pathogens on February 1st. There's a second session scheduled for March 7th, followed by the workplace harassment training. And these are all annual mandates of the fire department personnel. Fire truck 5997 is currently out of service for maintenance. We recently purchased a new stair chair, and it's now in service on the ambulance. And speaking of the ambulance, it will be out of service this coming Wednesday and Thursday, so the new power lift stretcher can be installed. Another recent purchase. Northern Dutchess paramedics will be covering on the first alarm for all EMS calls, in addition to 5961, which will be responding in the place of 5971. There will be an in-service on the new system on Friday, February 12th at 4:30. All EMS personnel will be attending a 4-hour web-based training session on the new EPCR system on February 22nd. And we will be going live with that EPCR system on March 1st. And the department wants to just report that all fire department and EMS operations are going well. And the new regime, the new chief and captain of the EMS department are doing a fantastic job, and everything is really coming. I'm getting reports, I'm getting inventory, and I really want to let you guys know how much I appreciate it, being part of that. It's very helpful to me. Second piece of business I have is the fire department has made a recommendation for a new firefighter. The following individual has complete all background, or the fire department has completed all background checks and has been voted favorably by the membership of the Rhinebeck Fire Department. He is being forwarded to this village board for consideration and final approval for membership in the department. So I'd like to make a motion that the Rhinebeck Village Board of Trustees accept David Anshin into the Rhinebeck Fire Department.
Second.
Discussion.
I think I'd just like to say, not too long ago, there was a newspaper article saying how difficult it was for volunteer fire departments to recruit new members. And I think that since August, when I was appointed to this board, we've added several new members to the fire department. So I just want to congratulate you on that. It's quite an achievement, and thank you for your hard work.
I'll second that. Nice job.
So all those in favor of the motion to approve?
Aye.
Anything for planning and zoning that you want to touch on?
I just do want to report that the draft, so the zoning commission, I don't know if Heath had mentioned before, the zoning commission has been meeting for, I think we're 13 months into the review of our zoning code. We have put together the culmination of all that review and discussion with the heads of the planning and zoning board and some of the village board liaisons. The draft is assembled. It currently is with our zoning enforcement officer and our attorney, just for some comments, and then from that point, after they make their comments, I will issue drafts to the village board for their review. So I suspect relatively soon, I won't say that it's for the next meeting, but we'll have a draft to review, and we'll have to have a public hearing on the zoning changes.
Okay.
Tweaks, if you will. There's no major, nothing major.
Street department, Howie?
Okay, mechanical repairs and maintenance was done on all the equipment inside the shop. They cold patched the potholes and some of the catch basins. Road repair was done also with storm drains. Vegetation clearing from the roadways and easements were done. Parks were cleaned up. That's Legion and Rockefeller Park. Sometimes that's left until the spring, but due to the lack of snow this year, they were able to get that done. That means that they picked up the leaves and cleaned up some of the brush that was laying around. Road sign repair was done. Street sweeping was done. And I'm going to add stump grinding to that list because I know you guys were just grinding some stumps. That's it from the street department. Lately, they've been plowing some of the snow, a little bit of the snow that we've had in the last few days. Did a good job, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, yes.
So moving on. Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to water. Jerry?
All right, for the month of January, normally I report how many gallons have been processed, and so for the previous month, it was 12,405,000 gallons, which is a slight increase over the last month, which is 11,968,000 gallons of treated water. And in addition to the work that's going on down there, we always try to keep the place looking clean and picked up around it and taking care of all the hydrants that get replaced and scrap metal. So we periodically recycle that scrap metal, and I guess this month it was hauled over to Kingston for recycling. And we also had, have to always maintain the distribution system. There was a little small piece of debris found in one of the chlorine feeder tubes this time, and it was just a matter of letting us know, and we were able to eradicate that very quickly. So at the water treatment, everything's running fine. The distribution system, we had to work with the wastewater and the sewer plant to install a new water line there as a result of the new construction. They needed a new hose bib put in and access to a line that was abandoned, reactivated, so that was work that got scheduled and done. We actually repaired a leak at 57 Violet Place, which happens to be this guy next door to me.
Well,
it was in front of
my neighbor.
In front of his neighbor's house, right? So that was repaired. We're also actively replacing radio meters in the village. This is important because it allows us to go out and collect the data much quicker and in much orderly fashion. And what Howie didn't mention is this month we actually were able to take advantages of having Tom, who's in the audience here, to work with us to do water meter reads for us. That's significant because that's like shared services within the village, where it allows us to cross-train people if we get into an issue where we're short on staff from the water department. Somebody else can help step in and make that work, and I think that's great of the highway department due to the lack of no snow, and for Tom to offer to help us out with that, because that helps us replace water meters. And if we replace water meters with the radio water meters, we can get the job done faster and more efficiently. So that's an activity that we're going to keep continuing on to focus on getting that done. Actually, for the year, even up to now, we're almost up to 30 meters replaced out of that, for the season already. So that was significant, and I'd like to thank Tom and the Highway Department for supporting us on that. I think that was great.
Do we have 2 highway employees that have been cross-trained, correct?
No, I think only Tom is the only one I'm aware of. Right?
I think just myself.
Yeah,
Oh.
so it's just Tom.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I've talked in the past about the lagoon sludge removal. This was a bid that went out earlier, and we had one bidder that pulled back, rescinded their bid because they were unable to execute. So I'm now working with Crawford and Associates. They developed a first pass review of that. There's a lot of questions where they were going through. So probably by next month, or the next meeting, we should have in place a review for going out for bid again for the lagoon cleanup, which is a stage over 3 years of cleaning the lagoon out. Okay. So that's in process. The water improvement project, no new updates.
Nothing from Stantec on where they are, the status of their work?
No, I have nothing from Stantec to follow up on yet. I do have a note out to him, but I don't have a report. I know he was into the office, but I did not receive anything.
Okay. And as far as I happen to be speaking to Brandy from Crawford Associates on some other business, and she had mentioned you had some questions about the sludge removal lagoon. She suggested that to streamline this process, that maybe we put together a conference call.
Yes.
So that we don't wait another month. It'd be great to get that assembled and out so that we're ready in the spring to really start to get that removal.
It actually wasn't her suggestion, it was my suggestion to get us together to
Okay.
have that discussion. And so what I wanted to do was to expedite that discussion, and I asked Pat to facilitate help getting the discussion as soon as possible with Brandy. So that was on impetus on me to push that forward. There is no real hurry to do this. The lagoon is not in jeopardy of failing or being damaged in any way. So I agree the spring would be nice if we can get that accomplished, but it's not a timetable that we have to execute on.
No, Brandy did mention that you suggested that we talk, but what I'm suggesting is we just do it at a call. Brandy mentioned that maybe trying to get everyone together and schedule, but to accommodate everyone's schedule might be difficult.
That's true. So we're open to doing that, and Pat is working to help get that scheduled for us.
So yeah, so let's get that, because I did talk, she mentioned to me some of your concerns, and I have some real responses to some of those as well. Stantec, with nothing from them?
I just said no, I had nothing, I knew they were in the office, but I had no input from them.
Okay, so I happened to speak to Troy on other business as well, and so they let me know that their next step in this process would be to survey the village, and so they are scheduling the next couple of weeks, weather permitting, to do the survey. So with the survey and the calculations that they've done, they'll be able to proceed with what we enable them to do, or increasing their contract to take it through a couple of other phases, and that would be the design and the permitting stage of this project. That would take us just short of these construction documents, and that would be sometime early summer, and then that would allow us to maybe go out to bid in the fall.
In the fall.
Yeah. So yeah, so surveying is next, and then they'll need a couple of months to assemble their design, and they'll probably be back to us sometime, I think, late June.
Okay. Anything else on water?
Nothing.
And let me just say one more thing. And so a lot of the talk previously about trees and putting some of the utilities underground, this is the opportunity. If we move forward with this infrastructure project, if we were to do the utility thing, that would be the time, because the utilities moving underground independently on their own is very costly. So, but when shared with other infrastructure work, it can drive down the cost drastically. So if we together, to Heath's point before, assemble that underground utility commission, and then they can continue to work, and hopefully we can go down this path together, like in the middle of the summer, be able to establish that the commission thinks it's a worthy endeavor, we could start to pursue it. We could start to talk to Stantec and see what the utility companies to see if it's a possibility to be able to pair these together. But from what I'm finding, it's anywhere from $650 to $1,000 per foot.
I've heard it's 10,000 between two poles. Does that come out to the same
It could fit.
Probably.
calculation?
I got that from two
How
different
much
sources.
between poles?
$10,000 between the two telephone poles to put
Well,
them on.
telephone poles are probably more than 10 feet apart, so those numbers are drastically different.
And the issue also becomes on how the new distribution system is actually put in. I mean, in some cases you are digging a trench, some cases you may not be digging a trench, right, to be able to make that happen. So you'd have to work together, because that's a cost-effective way if you can not dig a trench and can actually use the equipment to burrow a line and bury that. And the electric company has the same facilities to do that.
The horizontal
as well.
boring.
The horizontal boring.
Yeah,
to do
the
that.
problem with that is when Heinz is here, we talk about that all the time, and think horizontal boring is it would be a great method to do that for long distances. But when you have to connect, you have to do the individual connections to houses, you'll find that your excavations will start to be connected. Because you can only horizontal bore, then you've got to excavate to the point of connection, whether it be a valve or a junction or whatever it may be. So it's certainly an option for long distance stuff. The nearby stuff, it's going to be trenching. But these utilities wouldn't go in the same trench. You couldn't put electric and water in the same.
That's correct.
That's all.
Okay, wastewater.
Water meter pit?
Do you want to talk about the master meter pit? Or do you wanna-
It's okay, I mean, I just saw it as part of the report.
You've been running with the master meter.
All right, we're gonna hold on that.
I didn't get a chance to review it.
Okay, so wastewater?
Wastewater, we treated 3.7 million gallons of wastewater. I met with Peter Rathjen the other day, and he informed me that everything's moving along quite nicely with respect to the operation of the wastewater treatment facility as well as the Headworks project. We'd say that it's roughly 40% complete or so. But Peter is very happy with the way the project's moving forward, and he's also happy with the workers, clean and courteous. And that's it with respect to the wastewater treatment facility.
Okay. You have anything from the tree committee or commission?
No, just what we talked about earlier.
Oh, we did do that, right?
Yeah.
Nothing from the Parks and Recreation Committee. We're moving on to special requests. First one is for the, I was gonna go in the order of the,
Oh, good.
yeah, so the Running Away Marathon, which is usually held Columbus Day weekend. Actually, it looks like you moved it up this year to October 1st. This event has been going on probably 4 or 5 years now. It's a half marathon. And he's always worked closely with Sergeant Dunn from the police department, so, and he has signed off and agrees that it's a go on his end. So I'll make a motion to approve that event application as submitted.
Second.
Discussion on that?
Yeah, is this one of the events where they contribute towards police coverage?
Yes, they do. They pay the entire fee for the village police as well as the deputy sheriff, that the deputy sheriff is required to be on scene. All's in favor?
When do we typically receive the insurance certificate?
All the days before, because they don't draw it until right before the event. That's similar for all the events, yeah. So contingent upon receipt of the insurance certificate. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We got a peddler's permit request. I think Pat understands this the best, but I believe it's some kind of cart that sells Italian ices. And I guess the,
Right?
Something.
Means the book.
Yeah.
So what's our current?
I think Pat's researched it for us. So
Okay.
the current does not, the current code requires that a peddler not be in one place for 10 minutes. So peddler is more, well,
Might be 15 bucks.
it's designed for house to house. So, don't know, I guess.
He needs a bicycle cart.
Yeah, you'd have to keep the cart moving at all times, so he submitted a complete application, I believe. Did he get, did Dunn check him out?
Yes.
Okay, so he's had his fingerprints, right, such
Yep.
done from the police department?
Yep, it's fine.
So this is, just for everyone that's here, is gourmet old-fashioned Italian ices, roasted peanuts, a connoisseur of old world flavor, custom old world cart to add to the novelty of Rhinebeck's charm. 33-year background in food service.
So should we maybe request a photo of the old world cart? Does that seem reasonable? Sure. Or if you want to entertain the application further?
I think we should look into this one.
Yeah, proof of, I mean, there's the Department of Health issues
Yeah.
that.
Can you have that,
we can
he's
learn
got
more
that
about.
certificate, I think.
I also have a question, is there a number, is there a number that we would allow? Is there an upper limit in terms of people who can pedal?
I was trying to look it up in the code.
Right now, we only have the ice cream.
I know we only have one, but if we open, once we open the door.
I'm very popular.
Right, yeah. All right, so we will put this one on for March, and Pat, you can ask him for
A photo of the cart.
photo of the cart, and then he'll look into some of the other information. We have a request from the Taste of Rhinebeck, which will be held on Tuesday, April 12th, also known as our meeting date. So I've never been to the Taste of Rhinebeck. But, so this has been going on for years. I don't think there's any changes to the event. I'll make a motion to approve this one as submitted.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is the Parkinson's one in here?
Yeah.
So we have a request from the Parkinson's Disease Support Group of the Mid-Hudson Valley to declare the month of April. The month of April is Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the village. I think we've done this for the past 5 years or so. So I'd like to make a motion to designate April as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pat, do we have the one from, is that it right there? Okay. Yeah. So we're, I probably have it. There we go. So requests from the Dutchess County Agricultural Society and their concessionaires, they're putting in their application to the State Liquor Authority for sales at the events to occur August 23rd, August 28th, that's the fair, and then, oh, that's it, just for the fair. So I'd like to make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Discussion?
Is anybody allowed to ask a question, or it's closed?
Well, go ahead and ask your question.
I just don't know, what is it that they're asking of the village? They're making a request of what?
They have to notify us, we have to acknowledge that they're seeking a temporary liquor license for the fair. So they just have to, when they take their permit, they have to show that the village has been made aware of it, that we've acknowledged it. That's what it is. We do it every year for them.
BAU.
Yep.
I have to recuse myself because my company sells liquor to the fair.
Yes. So, all those in favor?
I'm going to abstain as well. I'm on the
We
society,
might have to pull
agricultural
in some
society.
alternate members soon. Sean?
I'm in favor.
Gary?
Approved.
Aye. So, 2 abstentions. Okay. So,
Can we get, we've done a special request.
not yet,
Oh,
what?
okay. We have a gentleman waiting out here now, he's probably in a special request.
Is he in here? I know what he's here for, so we're
Yeah.
good. But we do have Jesse here from Northern Dutchess Hospital. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm about to give you the taste of Rhinebeck, and that's on the letterhead. Do we have something in here, Pat?
Yeah, some of the crosswalk, right?
Yeah.
It's I didn't see it.
Correspondence.
Oh, correspondence.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's okay.
I moved it on you, that's what.
Here it is.
Go ahead, Jesse.
All right, Jesse Hewitt from Northern Dutchess Hospital. We're requesting a crosswalk to be put on Montgomery Street from basically the Baptist church, if you're looking at the exit on Montgomery Street, just to the right, straight across the street to very, very close to 97 Montgomery Street, which is location in the thrift shop. We would do all the work to both sides of the sidewalk, do the striping in the street. And then another portion of that is I'd like to have a street light. There's a pole very close to that location, a Central Hudson pole.
I think we approved that last month.
Okay.
The street light, we approved.
The street light's approved?
Last month.
All right, that'd be great.
Was that in the same location that he's referencing?
Yes, it's on Montgomery Street.
That's what I thought.
Where they had removed one when they put in the new poles.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's a lot of, you figure we park 90 people, 80 people, that's a lot of people across right there.
So we approved that. I don't know where it goes from there.
That's in Central Hudson.
Okay.
Well, you know that we approved it, so you can.
Okay. I wasn't aware, actually.
Oh, okay.
One thing, aside from that, that's an LED light.
Yep.
Which I believe is cheaper than the regular Cobra heads that they have. I don't know if you guys are looking at maybe doing a replacement program solely through the village.
During maintenance.
During maintenance?
The phase, as they go out, they're gonna replace them.
All right, good.
So on the.
Is this a V&T thing? So approve this?
No.
It's not, okay.
No, I think we just approved it. I don't think it's a code for a crosswalk. Do you know, Sean?
I don't know.
What about all the other crosswalks that you installed?
No, remember we had the last one we put in was the one over on the corner of North Park?
Right.
We just approved that, it's on the whole street.
Are there any curbs there now? Or?
No, there's no curbs on either side.
So what are you gonna do, site work?
Site work on the hospital side, we'll put in sidewalk that will tie into the new sidewalk along Montgomery Street. We'll put in the tactile strips near the road edge.
So you'll do it per code on that side?
On that side, and then on the church side, same thing. We'll put in a little bit of, it's really not a big, there's not as big a gap between the sidewalk and the road, but we'll modify the concrete and do a tactile strip on the church side of the road.
So there's a DOT standard that you're following?
We'll follow DOT standard.
Right. Okay.
I would just say that we should have our village attorney look into it, just to make sure that if there's any other types of permits or approvals that you'll need from the village to move forward, that we can provide them to you.
You want to approve it contingent upon
Yes.
the review of our attorney?
Yep.
Yeah.
Another question, isn't there also another crosswalk just up from that that's proposed, that's kind of diagonal where the hospital sidewalk ends and connects?
There is an existing one
You're kind of near Astor?
No, that would be where, Springbrook Avenue meets Montgomery Street.
Yeah,
There is one there now.
there is,
Yeah.
but is it in good shape?
It's, the sidewalk's in good shape, the crosswalk's in good shape.
Okay.
That's.
Is it gonna be marked with a pylon?
I don't think a pylon, I could put one out there. I
No.
worry about Montgomery, it's surviving.
I'm worried, what Gary said is that we're gonna have two in such close proximity of each other. And just, I don't think anyone stops at the one,
No.
because, I mean, technically, the New York State law is when a pedestrian enters the crosswalk, the
Yeah.
traffic's to yield, right?
Well, do we need that, or do we need both of them? Should we abandon the current one and go with the new one?
But the other one gets you across, right? Gets
So-
you across to the west side of Montgomery.
So the issue I would say is because the staff park in the church, they're not gonna walk up to.
Right.
So we'd have them crossing haphazardly, anywhere in the road. Maybe we could try and control it. But
Yeah, see, it's a little bit convoluted here because I think this is really meant to help the staff parking, which cross there frequently,
yeah.
right? But it really is not geared towards the public getting back and forth.
Is that a permanent situation with the staff parking over there?
We have a 5-year lease with the church, and it will probably continue. So it may not be permanent, but it's definitely 5-10 years that will be there. post a permit as it can be.
I mean, we have 90 cars over there?
We can park up to 90 there.
Yeah, so you're talking, that's 180 crossings right there?
Yeah.
And that's only for one shift?
It's only, we only park day shift, but yeah, some people come and go, like,
Yeah.
today I left, came back, so it's
Okay, that's
probably
probably more pedestrians.
about 110 crossings, it's gonna work.
I think to Sean's point, upon review.
All right. Is anyone gonna make the motion? I'll make the motion to approve the request for the crosswalk on Montgomery from Northern Dutchess Hospital, pending approval from our attorney.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're opposed to the crosswalk?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
has just hearing about this now, has anybody considered a driver, what the possibility is a driver having to stop at the first crosswalk and then 2 seconds later stop at another crosswalk? I'm all for crosswalks, but I'm thinking as a driver.
Well, I mentioned that, but you know what we may do is, as a part of the attorney's review that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next, other business. Oh, almost forgot you there, Marty. Do we have something in here? Is that under correspondence or is that under?
It is correspondence. It's a
Come
photograph.
on up,
There's a photo in there.
in correspondence. Oh, I got it. There it is.
Good evening. I'm Waddy Francis from Foster's Coach House. I'm a management consultant and dishwasher.
We do everything.
Pretty much. I think you got the letter.
Yes.
It's basically about giving some ambience to our outdoor terrace during the warmer months. We're looking at weekends having an acoustic guitarist strum some tunes to our guests. You know, we feel that right now all they're listening to is the saxophone, which is great, but it's not quite what we had in mind. And while I know that the saxophone guy, you know, depends on that corner, at the same time, you know, we do have the terrace there, and our clients really would like to hear something out there in a very quiet way. So we build in ambience. And so we weren't sure of what the code was currently on having an acoustic guitarist. We have no interest in having like a live band per se. And we also weren't sure of like the decibel levels or the time frames that it's potentially correct to do that. We're very aware of the neighborhood. We are aware that people actually live there. The owner of Foster's actually lives right there above Foster's. So she's very sensitive to what happens in the neighborhood, as I'm sure you know. So we're asking for some guidance on the issue. I know that other restaurants have, from time to time, had music, and it may not have been permitted or not. I think I was told that at the planning board last week, and they were asked to refrain. We would like to do it correctly. So that's where we're at. We don't know where to go from here. We figured this was the buck stops here place.
So I guess, would it be a resident guitarist, someone who is there, you know, every Friday and Saturday night, the same person, or would it be, you know, events or like a guests that come and come?
Well, we envision having perhaps the same person on a Friday night during the warmer months, and we're looking at, you know, we're praying, May 15 through, October 1st, perhaps. Friday nights with the same guitarist, Saturday nights with perhaps a different guitarist. But something consistent so we know what's happening every week. Changing every week is a major headache.
And where would you like the performer to set up?
Well, not next to the sidewalk at that end. We would actually like them to be at the other end. I don't know if you've looked at that terrace recently, but there's a gate down at the far
Goes
end.
into the parking lot?
Yes, and there's like a little alcove there. It's where our old Christmas tree is sitting right now, I'm afraid. But that's the spot that we had in mind. When the door opens from Foster's, when servers come out to serve people out on the terrace currently, you can already hear the music coming from inside of Foster's, until the door closes. But frankly, we would rather have sort of a different atmosphere outdoors that made it more like just a charming little cafe.
So I know that at one time the Liberty had live bands and the bar on the side where they have the boat. I don't know what rules were passed for them to have the live band performance there on weekend nights.
For some reason, I feel like that's a result of pre-existing non-conforming use, a special permit that may have been granted some time ago. I remember coming across it a long time ago. I don't, recall off the top of my head, but it's worth looking into to see exactly what the structure is that we have in place right now in order to try and accommodate your request. Because like you said, you want to do it so that it's within the confines of our local laws.
Absolutely, and like I said, we're very aware of the nature of town, of the village, the historic section and all of that. We're very aware of that. We do not want to impede upon that atmosphere. We want our music to be pretty much contained to the terrace area. It would not be an imposition.
Currently, there's none, right? There's no outdoor music.
And I'm
Is
not,
it prohibited?
yeah, well, that's two of the things I was gonna say, is I'm not sure where Liberty, whether that outdoor performance has continued or that's been discontinued. That's one. Number two is I wouldn't be willing to act on this until I was more familiar with the code to better understand what our code says and then be able to respond to you in a way.
We fully understand that.
And then beyond that, for us, it becomes an issue where it won't just be you. Now there'll be other restaurants that will be looking to do the same. So we have to be considerate of all those things, but again, I'd like to get familiar with the code.
And like I mentioned last week at the planning board, I think somebody had to come take the lead on this and bring it to you because we'd love to do it, so it's in our interest. But if it helps everybody else out, and it sets some rules for town, so it's not a loud, sort of concert type environment, then I think we're doing the right thing. But we're here to find out just what the code is.
Sure.
Again, I'd have to recuse myself because Foster's is a customer of mine.
So we're not voting anyway. But I would say that
No,
I
just for
appreciate
the
you
future.
approaching it this way, rather than
Yeah.
just all of a sudden, setting up a guitar and a band.
And then asking for forgiveness.
Exactly. And then
We don't have any interest in doing that. Yeah.
It's too cold.
Behind you there. Go ahead, Bob. You got a comment on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you're concerned about the ambience of the Foster's Coach House, but are you aware of the condition of the parking lot and the planters?
That's not what I'm here to discuss.
Well, I know that, but I'm
that's
asking
a totally separate issue.
You're not interested in that then?
I'm very interested in that.
Well, I would just like to comment on that.
And Bob, I thought you were gonna give us a comment from your past experience and tell us
Well, I know-
something you knew historically about, specifically to the music. We're not gonna go down to Planter
forgot all
Road.
that.
If you guys wanna have
Why don't you
a
pop in
sidebar.
and have a chat with
No,
me?
I would rather point this out to the public because of the condition of the parking lot.
Please.
Is the board aware of that parking lot and how it looks? All those planters have never been painted, they're falling apart, one has been knocked
Thank you
into
very
the
much.
sidewalk. And I think the board should do something about that.
So let me respond to that, because
apparently don't want to hear that.
Waddy came before the planning board to propose what he just explained here. And the first thing that came to the table was,
Good.
do you know the condition of the parking lot and the planters? And before we really act on doing anything at Foster's, we'd like to see those things be repaired. Unfortunately, the music thing really isn't a planning and zoning thing, it's more of a village board thing, but.
Well, I'm not certain of that.
Well-
I believe that that's part of site plan and special permit. And that should be part of their site plan approval and
And they're
special
in front of the
permit.
planning board.
But it's a planning board matter.
They deferred them.
No, not for the music,
Oh.
for this stuff. They're still working through their site plan?
What would the
They
planning
haven't
board
been for a
tell them?
while. They did come. That was months ago that they came
Right.
to do some improvements. They wanted to provide lighting at the patio and some other things. They
Yeah.
did come to one meeting. Again, the first topic was, can you repair the sidewalk, the parking lot? and
It's
the
amazing, the benches are all falling apart.
Right.
I assume those are their benches, right? I'm not sure who put those.
I mean, if it becomes a public hazard, we can certainly have, our building enforcement officer
That-
write a violation.
That planter on the north side of the driveway entranceway on Montgomery Street has been pushed out. Somebody backed into it, it's about a foot out into the sidewalk.
So let's stay on topic here. If you
Okay.
want, we're almost to the public comment section.
Okay.
And then it doesn't, it's general public comment. So if you want to make a public comment with your 3 minutes about Foster's in a couple minutes, we'll certainly entertain that.
No, that's it.
Okay, that's it.
I
thought
think
for
for
sure
sure you
you-
should do something about that parking lot. That's what I
Thanks.
I walk by it every day.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
sorry?
like the way it looks.
On the music,
Yeah.
does Foster's have little speakers right now with music that plays?
I don't know
feel like
that.
I've
Let's
heard
look
it
into
before.
that. I believe maybe they do. What's that?
They're actually on the picture.
So-
And my other question about the music is, I also believe Gabby's has a mariachi. How do you say
Mariachi,
that?
yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that comes through, and I don't know if that can.
I don't know if they go outside or not.
They're like peddlers. They don't stay in one place for 10 minutes.
Okay. So, something I had mentioned to him, when I talked to him the other night, is maybe a place to start would be an event application for one evening. And then it'd be very limited scope if one of the, places in town wanted to try music for a night, then they could apply, have an event, and then see how it goes.
Yeah, then we can go event by event basis to get
Right.
their approval and based on their previous.
As opposed to a blanket, have a guitarist whenever you want.
That's a very good idea.
What are we talking about, Charlie?
The music, that's what you're talking about. Has anybody checked with, there's any interference with Upstate Films? I don't know, it may not be even a concern.
We're just starting to investigate
So
this. I
these
mean, I made
guys-
some notes.
These guys are gonna check this out.
We'll do it.
And see where it falls and.
If it goes anywhere, I already made notes, no amplification, no percussion, that kind of stuff, so. If he really wants to stick to the acoustical piece of it, it may work, maybe we can do an event and see how it goes, but we're very aware.
Just a quick thought on this, you might want to Google other, at least New York State municipalities. I'm thinking the village of Southampton or the village of East Hampton might have dealt with these issues, or places like that where they're trying to debate between, a zoning law or a special permit or event license. Like, I can see where event licenses could proliferate and, and then another person. Somebody in the state in a more urban area must have dealt with this before and figured out how to control and limit it, whether that be an event license or zoning law or something else.
Okay,
Good idea.
Information technology. You ready to go, Gary?
I'm ready. Okay, at the recommendation of the mayor, Heath Torrella. He asked me to evaluate proposals from several IT companies in regard to the support for government municipalities and the operation of the IT within the village itself. We researched out and sent out to anybody we could find to request information for them to come in and evaluate our operations and to make suggestions on improvements on how to increase our productivity within the departments. And I think everybody knows there's 5 departments within the village that all interoperate together and share IT resources. With each proposal, they came in with a recommendation. That recommendation was a cloud email server, which really eliminates the need for personal emails and better email security within the emails that we use internally and externally. It also improved access to databases for the municipality software, the taxes that we charge for keeping tax receipts, water and sewer receipts. These are all databases which we use, and it's a software system that's used today inside the village. The municipality software is cloud-based, and it's something that all governments use, and the tax and the water and the sewer water district, they all use regular databases, so that requires hardware for them to run on. In addition to the proposals, there was an increased security on incoming and outgoing information, a disaster recovery plan, a backup plan, a data retrieval plan for lost information or misplaced information, improved access to the departments for sharing of shared files on a common server, and service for 24/7. Okay? So this was all the proposals that came in. Of the proposals we got, there was one that stood out only from the standpoint of the information and the evaluation that they did, and they taken a personal interest in the Rhinebeck Village Department, and that was PCA, which Professional Computer Associates of Red Hook. And at this time, I'd like to recommend that we ask PCA to be our IT provider for the Village of Rhinebeck. For the cost of this system, there is a cost. There is a deployment cost, there's a hardware cost, and there's also a software cost. Those costs add up to $11,903 for us to implement that. There is also a support services cost of $960 a month for them to maintain all of the IT services, which is the cloud-based services and internal hardware infrastructure to do that. For the first year, it's a reduced cost because they're doing the implementation, and as they're going through that, they realize that there will be startup issues associated with that. So the reduced cost for the first year was $676 a month. But then for follow-on years, if we so choose to want to go for full support service, which is, if let's just say our server crashes and 3 computers, a computer down at the water department and a computer at the wastewater treatment plant all crash at the same time, they all have to get treated and cared for at the same time, right? So if our server crashes, there's a backup server in place immediately by the throw of a switch for us to go to, and that's all prepared for in this presentation. So that will be covered under the support services. So I'd like to ask the board for approval to recommend PCA as our IT provider for the village.
So that's a motion?
That's a motion, yes.
Okay. I'll make the second. Discussion?
Oh yeah, just in your assessment and with your expertise, this is better than the system that has provided or that we currently have through with the intermunicipal agreement that we have.
So this is not to address the intermunicipal agreement that we have between the town and village, because today we do not have these services in some places where with that agreement. So this goes over and above and is really geared at improving our productivity within the village here. There may be some aspects where the intermunicipal agreement may come into play, but that's a separate issue right now.
I think you mentioned it was $960 a month, and you mentioned that we don't necessarily need to, when it comes to that time, we don't need to take the whole package.
That's correct.
Of the $960, we could probably.
That $960 covers like every desktop, every laptop, every
Right.
piece of equipment you have, and we basically get charged for each one of those pieces of equipment. Given the newness of some of that equipment and how they're used, it may not be necessary to purchase a service agreement for all pieces of hardware, and we can evaluate that after having some time to know how the infrastructure works.
So we could maintain the service agreement on the server, the shared components of it, and then our desktops and our individual workstations, we could basically go,
As
you know,
an
uninsured
Like
on
an
it.
on-call basis
Yeah.
if we wanted to.
And it was something like $60 a month per
I
workstation
think it
or
was
something?
like $80
A month.
Yeah, no, 40, it was $40 a month per desktop is what it was, 40.
Right. So,
a month.
I mean, that $40 a month gets you to a brand new desktop pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly.
So we
Yep.
may opt not to have that,
Yes.
and cut that roughly in half, I believe.
But at the outset, it's gonna cover everything, correct? The
Right.
60
What I'm proposing is for the initial year, at least we go for the full support,
Yeah.
you know, because that helps us really iron out the system.
How many desktops do we have when you say it's 40? Do we have
Five
We
right
have
now.
five?
We have 5 desktops.
5 here.
5 here.
And then we have others out in
Wastewater treatment.
water, wastewater, highway.
And highway,
Yes.
right,
So that's 8,
Okay.
right?
yes.
What's that?
That's a total of 8.
Yeah, something like that. So I should note that we've been working on this for over a year, pushing 2 years maybe, and Gary hasn't been on it that
Yeah,
long.
I'm not,
obviously.
I'm not,
But
I've only been
Gary's
involved
been
in
gracious,
August.
he's been gracious enough to come in at the end and kind of put it all together for us to bring us to where we are at the moment.
Guys, depending on the technology that you go to, you don't have to keep desktops. You can use thin clients, which are less expensive than desktops. So you have to have that in mind.
I'm sorry, Sherry, what was your question again?
It's not a question, it's a statement. I have an IT background. There's thin clients, which are similar to desktops,
Oh.
but it's a smaller device.
Right, they're used for more of a cloud-based service?
Exactly.
Yes.
We're aware of that, and we have evaluated that in the past.
So Cheryl, this is a hybrid system.
Okay.
So it can't be all cloud-based at this time because of the uniqueness of the software we use, which is the municipality software.
Okay.
Yeah, some stuff has to reside.
It has to
locally.
reside here.
We have not been able to convert it all to a
And
cloud.
another question I had was, did you consider, I don't know if you're only focused on the technology implementation and support, or if you got feedback from consultants, but when I worked with KPMG, they had a state and local government team of IT professionals that could come in and help with the recommendations and review these proposals to make sure you were getting the best.
Of the companies that we've narrowed it down to, all of them have state and local government experience already and are already in the process of supporting even local and local municipalities. So that experience is there. They're connected to the software providers already that we currently use. They all use the same hardware platform, right? So there's a lot of commonality, but yes, they have that experience to help us.
KPMG is one of the big 4 public accounting global, so just to,
Yep.
I have that connection.
Good.
And I'd be happy if there's anything I could do to help.
Super.
Be happy to reach out.
So we have, do you want to talk about IT, Don?
Quick on IT, does the $960 a month or whatever number you pick, does that include that they replace any failing component? Or if there's a failing component, a router, a PC, a printer, that they charge on top of that for replacement?
There is some, and Dodd, there is some exclusions in terms of the hardware, and I have that detailed out, but I don't have that on the top of my platform right here. But yes, it does cover the replacement of equipment for the most
First
part.
trade as well as you can on
Yeah.
that, and then are they pretty clear about, you may or may not be aware, but the company that I used to be the owner of is the provider of your water billing software and the municipality product, and so I'm kind of familiar with quite a bit of what you're using.
The one company up in Red Hook.
Pardon me?
In Red Hook? SCA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've made contact with them and reviewed our proposals with them to make sure that we're,
No, I'm just saying, I'm just familiar with at least a portion of the software you're using, and I've dealt with a number of hardware providers and support people, including PCA and others, and you want to be clear on very clear in the contract on what's billable beyond what they say their service covers. And if you're comfortable with that, fine, but make sure that's real clear, because sometimes the billing for what you think is covered under the service contract turns out not to be. So I would suggest that.
good point.
And one of your products is sort of a thin client, as Sherry mentioned, which is the municipality product. I think that's the only one you have that's
Well, that's what I said, that was a cloud, that's on the cloud
Yeah,
already.
that's
The
the
municipality
one.
software of that product is already cloud-based.
And that one can only be COD-based, where some of our SCA stuff can only be local-based. So that's kind of why we had to go with a hybrid model to make it work. So we have a motion on the table. Is there any more discussion up here? Okay.
Wait, I want to be clarify the situation with the current service that we have now. Is this going to be in addition to it, or?
No, this will be replacing the current service, the current provider. Right now, we own all of our equipment. There'll be some upgrades, bringing a server. Everything up until recently was local-based. Our server was basically a CPU under Pat's desk. There was very little interconnectivity through the village.
We do have backup service though.
Yes, we have backup.
We have backup service
Yeah.
today through the server that's across
Right.
the street.
We have no connectivity through, between our satellite departments. They're all independent. There's no communication between water, highway, and sewer to back here. That'll streamline some of that. We have,
So this will help out with billing?
Nice word, we have very inadequate email. So, and all this is gonna be corrected and improved. And that's the task that we were looking to.
Are we facing any type of early termination fees, things of that nature with the current provider?
We don't have a contract.
There's no contract
It's just
in
a fee
place?
for, everything's fee for service and, right now. So,
What does it usually cost annually now? What do you spend on the systems?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. It may be in the neighborhood of $1,000 a month, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Don't quote me
And
on that.
the fact remains that it's inadequate, what we have
Right.
now.
Yeah, we've been looking for a solution for at least as long as I've been around. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Gary, for putting the work into that.
Bringing finality to it all.
Yeah, great. Any other business up here? From up here? Okay. So we have a couple, did you guys all have the chance to review the contract, UPSEU contract and attachments? So I don't believe it's in here. I sent it to everybody via email. The MOA?
Yep.
No, I did not.
I have not.
Okay.
It's the same one that's been there for
Yeah.
a while.
So I signed the MOA with UPSEU back on December 4th. And we have been taking this every time for the same reason. So we have a contract that expired on May 31st of 2015. And we're waiting to approve this MOA that was executed so we can move to the contract phase. So,
Can we tag it on to Mondays?
Monday?
we've,
I know.
we've been tagging it on for I don't know how many meetings now.
But at our last discussion, there was several questions brought up by Sean that I think we were all waiting for
Yep.
clarification on.
That's
And that-
true, and I sent the MOA again. I sent the full contract, and I sent the conditions for approval of the MOA to the entire board in the last week. Asked you please to provide me with any questions that you have so that we could answer those questions before we got here tonight, so we could approve it at this meeting, or disapprove it, so we could address it. And here we are. So we will indeed have an executive session to discuss that. I thought we were going to avoid that, but we'll move on to correspondence. We have a letter from Nina Lynch from 1 West Court, dated January 20th. She's thanking us for deliberative, thoughtful consideration of the offer from Central Hudson in regard to tree trimming in the village. I was heartened by the proceedings on Tuesday, January 19th, and your thorough approach to the issues. I live in the woods and serve on the Phase 1 Board of Managers, which has had to deal in this past year with unexpected but necessary expenditures requiring costly tree removals. Our issues were related to both the emerald ash tree borer and poor planting choices and maintenance over the years. I hope that as you go forward in your deliberations, you will lean heavily towards the recommendations of our volunteer Village Tree Commission chairperson, Meg Crawford. Meg's horticultural knowledge combined with her civic interest in keeping Rhinebeck's rural beauty intact is worthy of your consideration. I hope you'll consider the big picture as discussed last evening and approach the recommendations from the Village Tree Commission and the offer from Central Hudson as an opportunity for long-term improvement in regard to sidewalk and sewer line repairs and controlled plantings that are appropriate to our current environmental situations. I should note that we've had many submissions as emails directed to the board or individuals on the board. I don't know, have we had any other letters, Pat, submitted and related to the trees? Because I know we've had.
Other than emails.
Like anything formally submitted to you for public comment? Okay.
Her letter was the only one.
Okay, gotcha. We have another one from Lisa Haggerty, who lives on Hiley Road. She says, unfortunately, I cannot attend this evening's village board meeting due to a prior commitment. I would appreciate if you could read this correspondence aloud or copy for all village trustees. It has come to my attention that a couple residents of Hiley Road have expressed their dislike for the green landscaping around the village water facility by the goats. I understand that Mr. Santamarina has told the village board that the neighborhood is not in favor of these goats. This is simply untrue. Our family and others applaud the village's use of the goats. We enjoy visiting them daily, sometimes twice per day. It is a great educational experience for my youngest son. I've had the pleasure of joining other neighbors at the fence of the property when the goats were present. Also at a recent hospital function, a neighbor and his wife stated their love for the goats and for the experience it gives the children of the neighborhood. To my knowledge, there are only 2 neighbors who are not in favor of the goats returning. Mr. Santamarina stated to me that he felt the goats were a deed restriction in our neighborhood. I'll leave this other part out, but please do not be fooled by Mr. Santamarina thinking that the entire neighborhood is against the goats' return, as this is simply untrue. The goats make less noise than any dog on the street and have no foul odor as you pass the fenced area. That's it for correspondence. On the minutes, anybody not attend any of the listed minutes? Everybody? What's that?
I was in attendance of all.
Everybody? Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the, anyone got any corrections before we go with the?
I reviewed them, I didn't have any.
Okay, I think I sent my corrections already.
Yeah, November 12th.
November 12th? No,
Yeah,
January
it was
12th, you mean?
Looking at the special meeting.
Is that the budget one?
No, it was
No,
Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus one. It was December 2nd.
It might be 11, 12, 16, maybe that, is that a,
Oh, 11, 12, 15?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you were not at that one?
So it's not, yeah, I was not there.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve the minutes for the first day, 11, 12, 15.
11, 12, 15, yes. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Sean abstains. You were at the other two? Everybody?
Yes.
So,
No.
12, 14, 15 is the next.
well, these dates don't match them. Right?
Yeah, they're not in order.
No, there is no 12, 14, 15 on the
On the agenda, it's not, but it's in
agenda.
there.
Okay. All right. So I'll make the motion to approve the 12, 14, 15 minutes as submitted.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Tuesday, January 12th. That's the last one I had, right?
I don't even know.
12 through 15, Stantec meeting.
Okay.
That's the first one.
We did 11, 12, 15. We just did 12, 14, 15.
So now we're going back to 12, 2, 15?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes from 12, 2, 15.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Should be the last one, January 12th, 2016.
That is correct.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, just to be just to be clear, at the January 12th meeting, in the minutes, we approved 11-12, we approved 12-2, 12-8, and 12-14. So we just approved half of those, a second to reapprove. Okay. So those are very good minutes. You can doubly reviewed.
Yeah.
They're good to go. We will go to public comment. Do we have a list? We don't have that many, so Dodd, come on up. Thank you for being so patient. Sorry we couldn't entertain all comments.
No problem. Just a question leading, just to confirm, the current plan is 110 trees candidate and 21 to come down, right?
110 was
candidates were in the
Yes.
inventory, 10 and 21 to come down, which was close to the number I came up with when I went around with Gary and Howard, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The question I had, which is equally important in my mind, that's why I was pressing on the local law versus local or home rule versus the PSC's view of the world, is what's the board's view of to what degree you can constrain the Central Hudson folks from pruning down to what the one gentleman quoted to be the deer antler look? Because that's the pressure from the folks I've communicated. They're going to want to know what's the answer to that question, or what's the board's current thinking leading into its next Monday at 8 o'clock or 7? 7 o'clock. What's the board's thinking on how to control that, or do you think you, at this point, have no control over that, other than the 10 by 10 box and the 15-foot clearance?
So I'd like to comment on that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think Sean has also done the same research that I have done in terms of what the PSC, and that's what they quoted, that there's a regulation, which you heard tonight is a PSC, which does give the utility a right-of-way to maintain their power lines. And each utility company, therefore, puts together a proposal to get approved by the PSC. Okay, so Central Hudson has put forth a proposal that was accepted by the PSC on a 4-year cycle and this large pruning. But while they were here, they spoke in terms of, we will work with the village and we'll do what we think is necessary for that pruning. So that's what I'm trying to get to an answer to also from Central Hudson, and they have not returned my calls yet on that answer. So I've made a call to Mike Colucci to get a definitive answer on that, and he has not returned my call, and I will keep pressing to find that.
So I don't want to misrepresent where you are right now, but if I were to communicate to the folks who I've communicated to and have communicated back to me, I guess a fair statement is that you're trying to determine between you and Central Hudson, I don't know exactly what the boundaries of pruning are going to be, given their commitment to the Public Service Commission.
If you read the statement in the public service, it says we're in relationship to outages, right? And it really, and I have the document here, it talks about in preparation for outages, they need to do this. Now, we need to really talk about what outages are they talking about in terms of how it impacts our village.
Right. And what's the record of outages, the question I raised in my email. But also, and I read, after Cecily quoted that, I think the impression might have been left that the regulation she quoted from the PSC had in it the fact that that regulation overrode local rule. That was not at all clear from that, just so the public knows. That was not at all clear from that regulation. It only said that the PSC expected the utility to conform to the standards that the utility quoted to the PSC. And I mean, this might open the dialogue for Central Hudson to start to think about, do you have tiers of restrictions on how much or how little you cut, depending on whether you're in the country, whether you're in the village.
And it's also based on the type of power line, right?
Right, I did see
it's
that.
not the same as on Route 9 as it is on South Street.
The load
Exactly.
determines the the distance the trees were supposed to be. It's a complex,
And
probably engineering question.
Unfortunately, when they met with Meg, they said, this is our rule,
Right.
this is law, and if you call the PSC, they say, we have to conform. Well, one size doesn't fit all in this case, and
So we're trying to find, the village board is trying to find a way to maybe make not one size fits all, so the pruning doesn't become the deer antler look.
Well, I think,
Is that-
I think it's fair to say that the village board, from the outset of this issue coming to light, has been trying to take thoughtful and deliberate steps to make sure that in the event that we can make it so that it's not a one-size-fits all type
Yeah.
of thing, that's certainly the type of solution we'd be working towards, because we don't want unsightly trees.
Right.
At the same time, we don't want to interfere with the ability to deliver power either. So it's a little bit of becoming more educated about the issues, because it is a little bit more complex than just saying, this is what Central Hudson wants to do and we're getting steamrolled. That's not necessarily the case, but it's seeing, well, what are our options? And Gary outlined some.
Well, I think from the last meeting, I think the public was left, from the lot comments I got who saw it on TV, that there was a sense of being steamrolled.
Well, I think the fact that we're having this dialogue now.
Oh,
and
this is a different dialogue.
No,
That was not so much a dialogue the last time.
But I think that it's good to bring to light what we're doing now in order to avoid that type
Right.
of situation. And the fact that we're inviting further comment on Monday to make sure that, you know, we are trying to take the steps necessary to make the thoughtful decision and come up with a resolution that,
Right.
you know.
And you're 100% sure that local rule can't override the commitment that Central Hudson made to the PSC?
I'm not 100% sure
I
of
would
that.
press
No.
that also as another avenue, just to be sure you don't, because I'm still confused by the gentleman's comment that New Paltz overrode them for some period of years, and they honored that commitment.
I am
I think that was
100%.
prior to 2003.
Pardon?
But I think that's what he said after the fact, but that was prior to them instituting those newer regulations that required the 10.
Could have been.
year. But
Could
we
have been.
can certainly
Yeah.
research that.
I am 100% sure, though, when you're asking something or an entity to deviate from an accepted standard, that there's certain inherent risks in doing that, and it's a slippery,
liability risk to the
it's a
village.
slippery slope,
Yep.
and we need to balance all these concerns so that, you know, it's a good
Fair,
decision.
fair point that you have to consider the liability.
So Don, one more comment, in regard to the PSC and their case study, which you could reference online for this. Each utility company negotiated a different cycle as well. So I'm not sure what New Paltz didn't say is, why can't we have this not on a 4-year cycle, but can we extend it to maybe 6.5 years, which is some of the cycles that some utilities are using. Some utilities even propose an 8-year cycle for doing this maintenance. So it's possible that New Paltz said, listen, can we delay this cycle? Not delay the standard, but can we delay the cycle while we can take time to plan for this? So I think
Yeah,
that's
well,
another
he
position.
described it as more of a, we don't want you in here for a few years, and then they regretted it later on.
He did, but if you look at,
Which
if
is
you
a
look at the
credible
case, if you look at the
scenario.
case study, it's,
Yeah.
not everybody is on a 4-year cycle.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
A less frequent cycle would mean more dramatic,
Yeah.
cutting when the time comes. So one thing that we noticed, I know when Scott and I walked around, is that many of the trees already have the semblance of that box. It's already there with just some small suckers in there. So
Yeah, I just don't think it's anywhere near 10 feet, though.
You know what, too, Don, I think, you know, what they communicated to us, and of course, I think everyone here has been on the PSC website, the box is 10, 10, and 10. It's not 15 down, it's only 10 underneath. The 15 really represents the above clearance that needs to take place. And then anything that's larger than 6 inches in circumference can live and be maintained above the power line.
But even a 10 down probably brings you to 10 feet above the ground, right? So you don't have much left anyway.
No, I wouldn't say it's that far down, but 15 down is a lot further than 10 for sure. But
it probably brings you somewhere near the cable wire.
Yeah, that's what they described as the bell wire.
Right.
The
How far is that?
The poles on Route 9 north up there going towards the hospital are 40-foot poles. 5 to 6, say 5 feet of them are in the ground, so it's a 35-foot pole sticking out of the ground.
But how far is the cable and telephone line usually set below the primary?
Usually 6 feet.
6 feet, okay, so a little bit.
But the primary is sitting up at the top, where they're talking about this 10-foot clearance,
So 10 foot is roughly where the cable
telephone wire below the phone cables.
Yeah. So which is most of those lines are free now. I know we saw some like over in Livingston. There's some where the cable and telephone lines are intertwined through the trees, but for the most part, like on Route 9, there's already the V, and all those lines are already free through there.
Yeah, it just would be suckers. It looks
So
like
it'd
the
be out
suckers
of
that
the
have filled
box
in
as
4
it is.
years that they would trim back, so. I think just having a dialogue, I think, Central Hudson got a sense and knows how interested we are and what a delicate issue and matter this is. And so I think doing this fact finding, having our meeting, getting more public input on Monday, and then sitting back down at the table. The best scenario for all of us would be complete buy-in from them, rather than passing laws, and if we could let them know what it is that we'd like to see, so that we wouldn't jeopardize, their delivery of power to us and safety, and we can minimize the trimming. That would be the win-win for everybody.
The more public pushback you get, the more you can present that to Central Hudson as a customer concern. Is that fair?
Yeah, they're very aware of that and of the sensitivity in the village here. I mean, in all of our conversations with them, they have related that they will do the best that they can to meet their objectives and still, respect our objectives. But at the end of the day, we could sit here and promise to you that Central Hudson's not going to do X, Y, and Z, and that's an executive from Central Hudson, and none of us are in the bucket with a chainsaw. So, so when it really happens.
Not even Central Hudson.
Yeah, the guys that
Nelson,
are making promises to us, they're not in the bucket either. So
Well, at least us and Central Hudson are talking about this, and they didn't just come through
Right,
and
that's
take
correct.
out this box and never say
I
we're
think
paying
that's,
anything.
I think that's, Walter, I think that's a very positive approach on their part to do that.
And I got an email today from a resident of Rhinecliff wanting us to fix the problem behind their house or in front of their house there too. And, here, like you said, we're having a dialogue with Central Hudson, other places outside the village and the town and other places, they send a letter that we all got in the mail and they go through. So there's a sensitivity here and they're certainly aware of it.
May I just ask one question?
Certainly.
First, you really have to be commended for reducing that outrageous amount to the 21 trees. My question is, how do you know that Central Hudson's going to accept the 21 trees? What is the strategy? What's the next step?
Well, their proposal to take down the 127 trees was an offer. That was not a proposal. So if we say no, if the village board says no to 127 trees, then they don't cut down any trees.
Oh,
They're not
okay.
going to cut.
Well,
They'll still trim.
they'll trim them, and to the extent that they are in such a condition that they need to be removed, they will be removed. So I don't want anyone to come back and say, oh, you said no trees were going to be cut down.
Well, if there happens to be a tree that the box, for whatever reason, doesn't work, if they would only cut it as far as they could and still, I think they said they have to leave, a viable tree. So they would, that's the condition of the tree that was mentioned, and they talked about the stalk. But for them to remove it down to the ground to a stump, that requires this board to identify those trees for them.
But just to help Sally, because I don't think you were at the last meeting.
No, it wasn't.
My personal impression, validated by others, was that the Central Hudson guy at least was saying, well, you can take down less trees, but the ones that remain are going to look like deer antlers, and it was an implied.
But don't you think that was a bit of a scare tactic? Because
I was trying to pick a more diplomatic word, but
Yeah.
absolutely, he wanted to see, my impression, he wants to take down as many as possible and take advantage of the financial side versus the aesthetic side.
But after, it was interesting, it was really nice to go out and actually look at each and every tree. And I can honestly tell you that box is defined. And you know what, and if they were to take the suckers that have grown up over the 4 years and just do that, you know, hopefully we can limit it to something smaller, we're not gonna end up, there's not gonna be a deer antler. And I
10 by 10, not the trees I saw on Route 9,
but you know
I
what?
disagree.
But they
A
have.
lot of
they
the
have
trees were this far from the line.
canopy, but they had canopies that spread left and right of the wire. For the majority, I can't say each and every one of them.
Most of the ones on Route 9, if you do 10 by 10, you're gonna take out the big limbs, because they were all easily within 10 feet of the trunk.
But they won't, according to what Scott found, they won't, if it's over 6 inches, they won't take that
Won't take
limb
it,
within the
because
box.
it's structurally sound.
Now, that's new news to me, tell me about that.
No, that's part of the PSC, that's on the PSC website for criteria for clearing. It was anything above the primary line that was larger than 6 inches and was structurally sound, they would leave.
None of it's within that box, so.
No, it's within the box.
You gotta read it.
Well, it sounds like you
It's
may
above,
have some
it says
control.
above the line.
Certainly the dialogue with Central Hudson,
We could
you
clarify.
want to clarify whether, because that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
So that's really good news if that's the case.
But that says
And I think
above the line.
and that's why they exist today, the larger limbs that are above the primary, that's why they're there today. 'Cause
So
they didn't grow 6 inches in 4
So
years.
you think if it's bigger than 6 inches in diameter, but closer than 10 feet, that it doesn't go?
If it's above the primary line,
No, to the, so what if it's,
If it's within that box, I don't think it's gonna.
let me say this, if it's over top of the primary line, that's the way it reads.
oh, no, not over time,
If you go-
I'm worried about the ones to the side. And those would be within the
In the
10
10
foot box
box.
until they come down.
Yes, to be
So,
clear.
And I think if this, right now we have the V's, and this is, you know, my thought, not defined, but if the wire's here and the tree's hanging like this, it's not gonna fall in the wire, so that it's gonna be probably a lesser.
So some of us think the spec says it comes and some people say it goes. Are you gonna know more about that before next Monday night, do you think? Are you meeting with them before then, or?
There's no set meeting with them between now and then.
So the public comment is gonna be on what?
Specifically on the removal of those 21 trees with the red dots.
So so the public comment, nobody can really comment any more than we know right now about the pruning side, which in my emails, which I know you guys saw, because I sent them to you, the 50% of my concern was the degree of pruning. I was pretty confident you guys would limit the number of trees that you were gonna cut down, but the far more significant effect on the appearance of the village is the pruning.
I think that we addressed that when you originally got up here before Sally. I intend to look into this further and to try and come to the meeting with answers to the extent possible. At the end of the day, there's always going to be a certain level of discretion that's afforded to the person that's maintaining something that's in the right of way, okay? So, you know, how we can go about navigating that is something I certainly want to look into and be able to have some type of dialogue with the public on Monday.
But that
So-
becomes the bigger issue now.
That's
Pruning
correct.
is clearly the big issue.
Yeah,
I think-
well, now it is. Before, we were dealing with 121 or 114 trees. So we're going through this process, like I said, we're trying to be thoughtful and deliberate in what we do. But it's not just to say, hey, did everybody have a chance to look at the red dot trees? Oh, we're going forward. No, it's to further have a dialogue about this issue.
And what happens in terms of the timetable? Are you able to delay Central Hudson to allow for this thoughtful
Well, they never-
investigation?
They stopped short of giving us a drop dead date at the last meeting. It sounded as if the end of February, beginning of March was their timetable, but they did state that there was other work that they were doing around the village. But there's no drop dead date where they're saying we need to know by X. That being said, I think it's fair to say that this board has acted pretty quickly in trying to get to the bottom of this and address it, and we're mindful of the various emails and correspondence that we received regarding this issue.
And you know, that said, they are cutting in Rhine Cliff now. They are staged up by the fairgrounds with, I don't know how many trucks. And they have said they're working in the perimeter,
Yeah,
kind of waiting for
Red
the
Hook,
last.
they're all over the area right
Yeah,
now.
they're waiting for the last minute to come into the
Yeah,
village, so.
people are nervous, they've started to notice, you know, even if this wasn't an issue, there've been a lot of Red
Yeah.
Hook, Bard, they're all over the place.
You know, they were on Burger Road this morning.
So they're closing in.
And they're only using the fairgrounds as a base to do all that other work. They're not just sitting there waiting for
I
us
think
to
they've
make a
used
decision.
No, I'm just saying, that means they're obviously not
Right.
far away.
Yes.
They're staged.
So,
there, yeah.
I'm not, people are gonna expect me to put something out about what happened tonight. And I'm not quite sure to tell them, I can certainly tell them the great thing that happened tonight, but I'm not quite sure to tell them what the purpose of the hearing on Monday is. Is it both further comment on the 21 trees to be removed? Or is it that plus progress made, if any, on the pruning issue, or?
We can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that.
I think every step to bring everything we
I don't wanna
can.
create more emails for you than are necessary.
No, I mean, we'll do the best we can to have a more definitive answer on what the box is. I mean, the impression I got from speaking with Central Hudson is they're not gonna say, well, we're only gonna cut to 5 feet. in every
And the
situation.
extent of control we have over influencing the dimensions of that
Right.
box. Within the regulatory context, and how that would interplay with perhaps a proposed ordinance.
Right. A more appealing solution, maybe for the public and yourselves, is if you could get a more significant extension from that vague end of February date, so that you had more time to clarify these unknowns before you have the public come in again and we only know a part of all the answers, so they really don't know what they're commenting on. I don't know whether you want to think about that as something to be negotiated.
Do you think we need more time to find an answer on the PSC, you know,
That
versus
interplay?
law? Versus
No.
ordinance? Okay.
Well, the PSC thing, that might be a research into the law, you know, the web law stuff, but what Central Hudson really willing to do relative to the pruning gaps is a sit down,
It's
maybe
the
with a beer at the White
negotiation
House
Right.
to compromise.
We have an open dialogue with Central Hudson, so, I mean, let's find out exactly what our options are, and that gives us a better position to negotiate from.
Heath, our open dialogue, though, is with the arborist, not with the person who's, not the person who's making the rules.
Right, but I know John Fenton talked to him the other day, John.
Galucci?
Galucci as
Okay.
well, so I'm pretty confident we can speak with him. He's the regional manager, so.
So the current plan is to go ahead with a hearing for update on removal, for comment and possible new information on pruning. Okay.
What's that?
It's not a hearing.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's not a hearing, it's a public informational meeting.
Right. Question and answer.
It's not a hearing, it's a public information. Did you close the hearing?
There never was.
There was no hearing that was open.
Oh, tonight wasn't a hearing?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, people will be allowed to continue to speak.
Yes,
That's
there will
correct.
be question and answer. People can make comments, but it's not.
Public discussion or whatever.
Yeah. And that's only because it's not an issue that requires a hearing.
I think,
Mr. Johnson.
I think one of the several reasons that come to mind is that, one, Meg Crawford, whatever species of tree is along the roads, she likes to see it mature at its normal shape. Okay, the second thing is pruning. I've been asked by the board or the tree village to prune the trees, and I also like to see the trees mature at their, given height and width. But when they're planted so close to the road, I have no choice but to prune them as least as possible, so that when we go out with the leaf truck or the plows, they're not breaking mirrors, and we're looking up at 13 feet tall for the height of the leaf truck. It takes, we don't have many eyes to accommodate that. But
Yeah, we can see that there's a lot of scars on the trees on the southbound side of Route 9 from trucks that have hit them over the years. Any other public comments on absolutely anything?
Nick had intended to be here tonight, but our children are both very sick, so he's home with them.
So we got you instead.
You got me instead. First, I want to recognize that the tree committee is volunteers, and while I am married to one of the members, I've watched the hours and the dedication that they all put forth in this, so I think that there's some recognition given to what you all do. That said, when I first heard 127, I asked about his sanity. So I do understand the exorbitant number. It sounds like with the 21 that you've agreed on, getting down to 89 left outside of that, it's what happens with those 89 trees in regard to the pruning, or if they're found to not be able to be pruned and then they need to come down, how is that revisited with all of us? And I have not seen all the spreadsheets or the comparisons, but I wonder if we look at the number of trees that are being looked at being removed, have we also looked at the number of trees that the tree committee has planted, either in the vicinity of those trees or nearby? It's my understanding there were about 75 trees planted between the past and this upcoming spring. So when you heard the numbers, that offset the large numbers. So it's having all of that in mind as you're reviewing the equation. And I think you guys are doing a wonderful job of working with them and bringing this forth. The very first meeting on the trees that Dodd and I were both at, I believe was your work session to talk through it. I was only aware of it because my husband was coming. So
That's correct.
to have opened that up to the rest of us and then still be coming forth with this, I commend you all and I appreciate what you're working on.
Thank you.
What'd you say about 75 trees?
I heard there were 25 planned to be planted and 50 had been planted in the past, or flip those numbers. I don't know if that's true.
I don't recall, in our tour, I don't recall any, or maybe one or two that were in the vicinity of the ones that are coming down.
Yeah, there was less than a half a dozen in the vicinity.
Very few, so that math doesn't really work.
What do you mean? What do you mean that were planted in the past?
So, no, not about what.
Adjacent to.
Adjacent to a tree that was supposed to, that was
No.
tagged.
I didn't say they were adjacent to. I asked, has there been the comparison of the 75 that have been planted or are planned to and the ones that are being looked at coming down? I don't believe, I'm far from an expert in this, but I don't believe you can, there's issues with the root structure and the age of the tree and where you can plant and how far they can plant and all of that. And then the last thing that I would urge is the community response is great. I understand preserving the look and character of our town. I wish that we had the same response when it was time to plant the trees in the spring and the fall. And it would be very nice to have the rest of us roll up our sleeves and jump in to help in every way that we can, and not just when there's something that might upset us, but also to be proactive in our community. So,
Good point.
thank you.
Thank you. We'll let you know when our next tree planting is. I think it's around April 28th.
And I'd like to know, when we did the tree planting at the Village Town Park, that we had 40 volunteers, and they were from the Interact Club at the high school, and they brought their families along. So that was amazing in terms of the volunteer effort.
Yeah, we usually have volunteers from
Daytop.
Daytop comes and helps us in spring and fall.
We also had the Rotary Club, didn't we, at the
Correct.
park?
Well, it's the Interact and the.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
together,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you had a few tree commission members there too.
Absolutely, yes.
I think it's fair to say that this issue's brought to light a lot of different issues that we need to tackle going forward, including a planting plan that may be a little bit more, I guess, able to, so that the utility lines and trees can coexist a little bit better and we don't run into this problem again.
We probably will.
Yeah.
Every 4 years we're gonna run into this.
In 4 years.
It doesn't
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Any other comments from the public? Last chance. Okay. I'll make a motion to enter executive session to discuss union contract negotiations.
Second.
Discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.